If you're in there.
You're good whenever.
Oh, there we go.
There he is.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the planning board meeting of October 4th. Right now, I just take a call to order and do a quorum call. Ms. Delicio.
Here.
Mr. Olney.
Here.
Ms. Creighton.
Here.
and Ms. Penny.
Here.
Okay, we have 5 members. We have a quorum present. And this meeting is to go over continuing on the recodification effort. And at this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our vice chair, Sarah Creighton.
Great. Thank you. I'm going to open take a motion to open the continued public hearing for the purposes of discussing the zoning changes.
So moved.
Second.
So,
Laura seconds. Gail is Gail here?
I think so.
I think that's the 2 of 7.
Yeah.
Great. Hi, Gail. A roll call. One of you might need to mute. We're getting an echo. Maybe a non-mutes.
The host mutes himself. That's why we're getting the echo.
Okay. So on the. Ron, are you muted?
I don't want to mute myself.
You got it? Okay, great. So, now, can you? Am I the problem?
Might be you, Sarah.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Join with me.
We have a motion from Chris and a second from Laura to open the continue public hearing. Laura? We have roll call vote. Yes. I vote yes.
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 Yes, okay. Still getting an echo. Okay, great. Tonight we have a lot to do, but they're all focused on the zoning, proposed zoning changes. We want to get through the rest, come back to our articles and motions. We want to talk about the communications plan. And we want to actually finalize the warrant if we can. We actually have 2 weeks to get that finalized, but the warrant There's still some echo here.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's someone in the Zoom call. With
Oh.
us.
Can you ask them?
Should
You think it's me?
I can-
Oh, might be
But
Gail.
mute everyone that's not speaking.
Okay,
Christina's not muted.
no, but she's not, she has no, I think she's.
I turned my mic off, like in the other set. Like I can't even unmute myself or
Yeah,
mute
it's like-
myself because it's like shut off. Does that make sense?
But we can hear you.
You
Good.
should.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Gail, are you muted?
I'm unmuted, but then I mute on my phone. I mean,
Okay,
I am unmuted at the moment.
you're
I
right.
think the echo's gone. I think
I think
we're
it's
good.
better. Okay. So then, anyway, we need to, those are the main things we need to do tonight. Sounds like only a few, but it's actually quite a bit. So we have one major section that we have of the bylaw, general bylaw changes that we have not addressed at all. So I thought we would start with that, and that is the general bylaw section. Those moves to the general bylaw. So that is article number 4. Hopefully people have looked at the I think that there may be some general discussion and then maybe some specific discussion. We did not receive any motion for changes to that section. It's actually Article 2, sorry. So there are 3.
Take a ride to return that box tomorrow.
Jack, can you mute yourself, please? Okay, thank you. There are 3, now let's start with junk cars, then we have the driveway entrances, stormwater, I think are the main pieces. So, are there any discussion on the junk car section? Okay. Driveway entrances, a new section 45 to Article 10, police and other regulations. Discussion on this. One question came up from Mary, but I think it came up from Christine in passing as well. Would there be an application, a new application form for curb cuts? And I went back to this curb cut moved to the general bylaw predates Laura and the whole discussion and working group. So I went back to the meeting minutes, meeting packets from long ago and found an example application. So I think that there's one out there, but whether it's ready for prime time, I haven't looked at it. All I did was print it. So that can be done. Oh, this echo is terrible. Yeah.
I signed out, so it's not me, just to
No, I
make sure
know,
it wasn't
yeah.
me, but
I
yeah.
can sign out too to make sure it's not me. Because I don't need to be on right now.
You want to try muting your laptop? Do you
I'm
need
just
that?
gonna sign out.
Do you need
I
the
might-
sound on your laptop? though? Could you just cut the sound off on your
Or
laptop?
whatever, I just signed out, it might have been me.
Okay.
And if I need to share anything, I can sign back on. No, it's not me. So there is a form that you guys came up with 2 years ago. And I printed it out, but I think that is separate from the bylaw, as I understand. We don't need to have the form in the general bylaw.
Correct.
So the question was asked, is there a form? And there is one that has been floating around for 2 years. Anybody wants to see it, it asks.
So the question then is, who now is in charge of it? Who is going to come up with the form? I think our last meeting, we denied something. There's still a lot of gray areas to me. So moving this when we already still have gray areas is really concerning. Especially without clear indication who's gonna be in charge, who's gonna create this form, and who will be giving input on this form. So I like the idea. I just don't think it's ready for prime time.
So I have a couple of points to make on this. The first is there's a little bit of confusion about what the DPW can approve for a driveway.
In the new bylaw.
In the new bylaw. And it's clear, but it could be made more broad. For example, if there's a second driveway, that has to come to the planning board. So the DPW can only do one curb cut per property.
So if there's already one,
They have to come to the planning board for a second.
so I guess these are the things that we still have to,
No, that's all, it's all in the bylaw. So, there's another which says that the driveway width cannot be wider than, I think it's 12 feet and can't be narrower than 8 feet. And that it should have a turnaround if possible. And, but there are things we could add. We could say it has to come in at a perpendicular angle to the street, or at an angle no less than 72 degrees, which means you have a little bit of a not straight on, but not more than a certain amount. We could also say that the slope has to be, say, less than 8% within 20 feet of the edge of the road. There are things like that we could add if we wanted to. I think the DPW is perfectly capable of determining that, but if people would feel more comfortable with more
so the other thing is,
constraints, that would be okay.
where is the impervious being captured then? So if this is coming after the fact, and this is new construction, who's capturing if this is going over district's impervious? And then what happens? I just feel like there's too much behind the scenes, things that we haven't thought about, logistics that aren't narrowed out.
So does your suggestion to table this issue and keep it in where it is, or do you have specific
I don't
suggestions on how to?
I don't think we have time to make suggestions and fix it.
Well, I think that's what we're trying to do tonight. I think there are two suggestions I would make. One is on line 39, which says there shall normally be not more than one apron and curb cut per residential lot. We just strike the word normally.
Okay.
That would be we'll make that as a motion. Strike the word normally so that we have one curb cut. And any objections to
No.
striking the word normally in line 39? Okay, great, hearing none. Then the second one, I think, could be to add in that regulation of driveway entrances. Or applicability, maybe under applicability, all new and relocated driveway entrances for all land uses should require a permit issued by the Department of Public Works or the Planning Board. This permit should be separate in addition to a building permit or site plan review that may otherwise be required. On lots where impervious surface will exceed the required, the maximum requirement in the district, the planning board shall be the issuing authority.
No, why don't we just make the impervious surface part of the form that requires other, it's on the plan and it's on, just as you would with any zoning table.
Right.
You put the amount of impervious surface on your application to show that you're compliant with the district that you're in. And it simply needs to comply, whether it comes before or after, it still needs to comply with the impervious surface coverage.
And who's doing that? You're just saying it, it's your word?
No, I'm saying we put it.
No,
in
I
the-
wasn't being, no, I wasn't like jumping, but
Okay.
do we require a plan? Is it an architectural?
Just like any other.
No, we're kind of
Yeah.
loosey-goosey. We.
No, we're not loosey goosey. No, we've got a reg here. I think we can make some modifications. I do not want to put things on the table for some future unknown date when we're trying to strengthen our regs here and have better environmental controls that are easier for people to understand. These are changes that we can make reasonably right now, I think, by, let's say what we need. Maybe it needs to have a site plan and the form, which we don't need to develop tonight, can, just like all the other forms, have a checkbox for amount of impervious service and percent on the lot, those. I think we can develop those forms, but we don't need to do it here. And then the building inspector, or DPW, whomever we decide as the regulatory authority can oversee that process, just like the other ones. Maybe there's a sequence question about when we want to.
So my point is, we literally are loosey-goosey. The last application, we had a handwritten note saying this was the impervious. That was my example. Not saying this is loosey-goosey, like what we expect, and
So we're trying to make this better, I think, right?
Well-
Are we all in the same?
we have things and we don't pay attention to what we have right now.
I think that-
So
excuse me, but I think that things are loosey-goosey anyway. There's nothing to tell anyone that they can't just pave an area in their backyard for a playground for their kids. There's no form to fill out, there's no permit to get, you just go do it. And if you're in violation of the lot coverage requirement, unless somebody complains, then we're not gonna know about it. That's just the nature
So
of the
the
game.
point of this whole exercise is to make that more not neighbor against neighbor, make it clear and make it so that if you do want to pave something, that there are clear expectations that you do go get a permit. And this is what your impervious is in the neighborhood. I mean, that was our job. So saying there's nothing there is maybe a red flag that we should have put something there.
So I think the application form might be the best way to accomplish that. Because just because we say that the building inspector or the DPW is gonna regulate lot coverage, doesn't mean it's gonna happen.
That is my exact point.
But there's no way there's nothing we can do to change that.
But when it's in front of us, we actually ask for it. I mean, it's on the form and we review it. So I don't understand why.
Anytime you file a building permit, you need to give the required information to satisfy the building inspector.
So sometimes sometimes, as we saw the other day, driveway curb cuts are independent of the building permit.
And the
Right,
building
I'm just
inspector
using that
doesn't.
as an example.
Right,
So if there's a
but that-
checklist that's required,
Right.
an application form that's required with your curb cut, and it becomes more prescriptive about what the requirements are that you have to demonstrate and then meet, then having the regulation in the right place so the DPW can enforce it, and then it's got the backup required.
Right.
So it only needs to come to us when it's a second curb cut or there's some other. It's part of the.
So I
special
think there are a
permit
couple
requirement.
of distinct issues. One is, should it be in the general bylaw? And I would argue it should be because it has more applicability than in the zoning. And the second is, who's the enforcement agent? This proposal is the DPW. It is currently the planning board. So that's a separate issue, and you got.
Just so you know, currently it's not the planning board, it's the board of selectmen, but they have delegated it to the planning board, which is why we're in this.
Okay, which is why we're in this mess. And then the third issue is, what are the requirements and how do we, particularly around lot coverage, and how does the town be protected on that particular issue? And it seems to me that the lot coverage, those that have exceed the lot coverage requirements need to, even if they comply, well,
There's exceeding the lot
Exceeding coverage.
coverage, and then there's the number of curb cuts, right? If one curb cut is the default,
right.
and yet have to demonstrate the need for a second curb cut. I mean, I think our regulation is a little soft on the one curb cut right now, because we kind of suggest it, but.
Yeah,
So.
So the other thing is, our current application says curb cut driveway, and we do nothing for driveways, to your point. I mean, I feel like this all should have been part of it, not just curb.
So what do we say, what do we go from now? Here, do nothing? Or do we continue to move this forward and try to strengthen it now? Those are the two options we have, right? Or change it so that we remain the enforcement agent because we have confidence in ourselves over the DPW. And those are sort of, to criticize what we're doing right now, we need to figure out, so what do we do?
I think it needs to be limited to one,
Yeah,
strengthen
we
that
just-
language.
we
I
just
think
did
we
that.
need to include as built, and I think it needs to include the driveway, because if you have something, you just pave it and there's no record of that, and they actually want to go build something else, a detached garage. There's no way for us to keep tracking this and the system. I just don't think we're doing a good job, and we're opening things up, and there's no paper trail anymore. Instead of like creating one and making it more uniform, we're just kind of,
When you say driveway, what are you looking for there? amount of impervious or the alignment, or just trying to understand what you?
Impervious, so I mean, we don't, like, the application says curb cut driveway, and we do nothing for driveway. So someone could, they don't need a building permit, they could just go, if they had a gravel driveway. Because of impervious, they could just go pave it, there is nothing stopping them besides someone of their neighbors knowing that they might be
You're
over.
saying if they pave it later, like if they
Mhm.
come and they get a curb cut for the, and they make it a piece
We have
down.
no control.
But how do we regulate that?
So maybe
We
there
do
should be,
though, Ron, we do, we have control over impervious surface, I guess.
No, but if someone goes and paves their driveway, how do we know about?
We're not-
Without getting a permit,
We're
right?
not-
That's the
We're not
point.
out driving around town looking, we're
No,
not
but-
police.
Our driveway curb cut should include it, so at least it's something that says, okay, I'm gonna pave my driveway, and here's the application, and this is the amount that I'm gonna pave, and I'm not over, like, I feel like we're missing a lot of it.
so maybe there should be a separate bylaw about impervious surface.
There is-
Not,
do.
There
not
is.
in the zoning bylaw, in the general
That's
bylaw.
the stormwater, at least in part.
Well, maybe, yeah, maybe that's what we need to rely on, is the stormwater management section of the bylaw. Which becomes a general bylaw, by the way.
Right, that's the point. Now we're making anything, and then we can go back and look at the stormwater bylaw and see if that's doing what we're trying to make it do, but
So I
right now we're
think
just
that-
aligning the state standards.
This we just was done 2 years ago and has had no change since we did it 2 years ago. Since I've been on the board, we've had a few, maybe fewer than we did when you guys, I think you guys were going out looking at driveways every day of the week. So maybe you could please explain what led to this to start with.
We thought that it should be better placed in the hand of a professional engineer to design.
That we're not competent
And
to
that we're not
determine.
really, present company included, we're not engineers, we're, you know. We're not gonna be enforcing these driveway issues, so what we thought, the committee thought that they could be better placed in the hands of a professional engineer to go out and look at it, either Chuck or
I
maybe.
agree with that, and I really still do think that if we had a letter and a checklist from Chuck, it would make our lives so much easier actually approving them. I think that's almost a better solution. Chuck goes out, he says, I don't have a problem with this, he sends his report back to us and we go forward. I do think there's some logistics issues with us just turning this over and us not figuring out. A lot of people come to us last minute. This should be a first thing on the planning stop for a new construction. So I do think that we're turning this over, knowing all the things that we've been seeing in the last year, but we need to fix.
So we're not inventing a new wheel here. Every other town and city in Massachusetts, with a few exceptions, have the driveway entrances approved by the Department of Public Works.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm sure that they're not coming at the end of the project after the house is built and the driveway is built, asking if you can get into that location of the property that the whole project was designed around.
Right.
So there's certain things that we need to fix before we turn it over, in my opinion.
So what if under administration and enforcement, there is a first paragraph that indicates that a driveway application, before work commences, a driveway application shall be submitted to the DPW with a copy to the planning board. Just, we can get a copy of it. And such application shall be developed by the planning board and reviewed from time to time. And then we can, we can make this application reflect that we have pervious surface and impervious surface and lot coverage and zone, all of the things that we want to see. And it still goes to the DPW, but we develop that application, and that when they're submitted, a copy comes to us.
So I have an alternative, which is pretty much the same thing, but a little broader, which says that the planning board may establish regulations on how driveway entrances are designed and approved, and
Great.
those regulations can be changed from time
So
to time.
that's an application and regulations.
Sure, yeah.
And then see, we have this opportunity, November 14th, to move this ahead, and between either now and November 14th, or after November 14th on an ongoing basis, we can get an application and regulations. That seems like a good idea.
So how are we gonna capture the impervious?
In the stormwater management
No,
section.
like in the file, like, so you have a home, then you wanna have a second curb cut and you're driving, you're paving it. And then you wanna apply for a swimming pool. Where is this all gonna be added? We don't get previous applications brought to us. No one goes digging through the files, like, where is this gonna be kept? Who's keeping tabs on this?
I don't know, who do you think should be?
I mean, I just don't think that we should be turning it over to someone else until we figure this out.
Well, I don't think anyone's capturing that business stuff now, not us.
So is that the good answer? That's your answer?
No,
Like,
just
who
that's why
cares?
I'm
No one
asking.
else is doing it now?
No,
That was not his answer.
my question was, who should be doing this?
But your answer was no one is doing it.
No, that
Who
what
should be doing it?
going forward.
No one
what's
is
the
doing it now.
suggestion?
Who should be doing it?
I feel like we're adding more hours to staff. And we're volunteer board, we're adding more hours to people and we're not, in my opinion, getting things together as a package now. So I don't think that's the right place. I don't think at this time our town has the capability to organize things and get them out. I think we ask the right questions. I don't know if putting it out in 3 different departments, people are gonna communicate, just like the ZBA and Concom and us on the last
So
application.
what is the suggestion to remedy the
I
problem?
think we need to figure it out, and I don't think rushing it through again is the time.
But we're not rushing it through. This has been on the table for 2 years.
And we haven't
And
talked
so-
about it like this in 2 years.
Well, so we have this opportunity to make it have broader applicability by moving into the general bylaws. Do you want to just keep it with no change, which is in,
I thought we voted this through.
We voted- it was voted.
I thought we voted it. We had a subcommittee on the curb cut.
We did.
Chuck, Paul.
Yeah, we did, but you can't, like, I'm
we went
asking
to the
you,
Board and there wasn't any pushback on it. I don't know.
so curb cut regulations are currently 6 questions.
They're extremely bad. And the only,
Why,
the
why not take
only,
the opportunity to strengthen our regulations now? And the permitting housekeeping, which falls under the building inspector, is not our domain. I mean, I think we're here to strengthen the regulations, not solve the.
this wouldn't be in front of the building inspector, which is kind of my concern, and if it was, he's not here enough to enforce it. So the building inspector has said over and over, he has nothing to do with driveways.
so
He
the,
has to do with buildings.
the only criteria we have for approving a driveway entrance right now is drainage and safety. That's all we have. And we're not experts in safety, so I don't, I'm not competent in saying, well,
That's why we send a letter to every department and ask their opinion before an application comes. I mean, that's
for a
our,
driveway, we certainly don't.
we're supposed to. I mean, that's the special permit. We're supposed to send something out.
It's not a special permit, that's the problem.
Curb
It's a curb cut approval. Delegated to us by the board of select, by select.
So the current language says no person shall conduct a driveway or entrance, simply enter, that's from the traveled portion of the curb or from the curb of any street to a way open to public use for the purpose of passing to or from abutting property or cutting any curbing. Under blah, 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 the applicant shall at least 7 days prior to filing the application, mail a notice in the form specified by the planning board to all property owners within 100 feet of the locus of the driveway. And B, shall certify in such an application that notice has been mailed, and C, attach an application and names and address of those filed. And this subsection shall not apply to construction of any street in something or other. That's it. That just says they have to,
Notify the abutters.
I mean, unless there's some other section that tells what the
There is
there may be under parking, so.
something on width and
No, there's nothing with,
minimum width as well.
there is in the subdivision law.
Right, so we are
That's not what this is, but-
significantly, if we add a to
Chris's suggestion in that section D, prior to, the driveway and curb cut application. The applicant must submit a driveway curb cut application.
Actually, I think entrance is better because I don't have any real curb cuts. in town.
Driveway and entrance. Said application. And associated regulations shall be developed by the planning board. And modified from time to time. So my suggestion is to say something under administration and enforcement. So add a paragraph that says, Gail, we'll repeat this, so don't try to get it down. The applicant must submit a driveway entrance application. Said application, associated regulations shall be developed by the planning board. And modified from time to time. And may be modified. Modified from time to time. So then that application could say all the things that we like to see on the plans. We could incorporate the current abutter notification.
Yeah,
We-
I wouldn't do that.
What?
I wouldn't, but why would the?
Well, we could. I'm just saying
We
I'm not saying we could ask for it on paper if we want.
True.
The scope of what we ask for is to be determined. So right now, it seems like we have, this is an opportunity to have it have broader applicability. And then, and those regulations, so.
And to Christina's point on the form, it could say, what zone are you in? What is the lot coverage requirement? How much of your lot is currently covered?
Right, and those regulations can say if you are going to exceed the lot coverage requirements, then you have to
Seek approval.
seek approval. Or seek remedy.
So you're making this amendment to 627.
No, this is an amendment to the general bylaw motion. So it's strengthening, it is doing a couple things. One, it's making broader applicability by putting in the general bylaws. Second, it is transferring the standard curb cuts to the DPW, with the more complicated ones remaining with us. And thirdly, it's giving us the authority to make and modify curb cut regulations outside of the town meeting process.
How do we capture new construction?
Well, if someone builds a house, they have to get a driveway entrance approved.
At the end, I want it in the beginning. How do we capture that?
So we can put that into a section 12 and say that prior to seeking of a building permit where the zoning bylaws regulating building permits, the building inspector shall.
He doesn't do anything with this. I think you're
Well,
failing.
we can't, but we.
So we have to-
can.
what's
We
the
can't do it
remedy?
either.
We have to figure out how to fix it. Not just, if we have something that's broken, we can't throw up our hands and say, don't do anything.
No, I was just throwing it out there for minds to think, but the building inspector is not the person that's gonna do it. I'm actually even okay with the ZBA saying, like, if you're gonna move the project, I don't know where we put that language, though. If the ZBA is building or doing something, someone's gotta capture it before the plan is approved, and you have no other way to remedy the driveway. That's what I'm trying to capture.
The only, you might say this, the building inspector cannot approve a building permit with a driveway entrance unless that driveway entrance has been approved.
Maybe, yeah, no building, I mean,
Yeah, that would work.
That would work.
yeah,
So moved.
Okay, that's,
Can you do that again?
you wanna add that to the curb cut?
Yeah.
Would be the easiest thing.
Oh, no, I think it goes in the,
That would probably.
goes in section 12, I think.
Well. So we actually have this in here, the applicability is this permit should be separate and in addition to any building permit or site plan review that may be otherwise required. Let's add it as a second
Okay.
sentence there.
Right.
In addition to. In addition to a site plan review. And prior to any building permit.
Sure,
So in addition to,
prior to the issuance. of the building.
I'm gonna change the order there, site plan review. And prior to any building permit.
So I'm just trying to
Yeah,
think this through. So anytime you're getting a building permit, which may have nothing to do with a connection to a driveway, is it a box you check on the building permit form that says, I'm planning a driveway, yes, no?
Yes,
Is that
yeah,
what
sure.
I'm catching?
prior to any building permit,
Or I will require,
yeah,
it's really only the changing of the curb cut, right? I'm moving the curb cut or I'm doing something to
Right.
change the curb cut.
We're
I've got a
building,
new-
yeah, we're building a new house on a created parcel of land.
how about any applicable building permit?
Well, how do you define that, though? I'm just
Yeah,
trying to chase it through a little bit to understand it.
Or any building permit
Yeah, building permit.
requiring a driveway entrance,
Yeah.
New.
a new or altered driveway
Or
entrance.
altered driveway
Yeah.
entrance, yeah.
okay, so. Okay, so we have 3 amendments to the section
And I think
40.
there's one more,
Okay.
sorry.
Yep.
Line 42. Which currently says residential uses are encouraged to utilize only one driveway entrance with 2 entrances being the maximum allowable. Am I looking at the current?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So that we would change
Right.
to residential uses shall utilize only one driveway entrance. Period. If 2 entrances.
Yeah.
2 entrances are
Will require,
more than 1 entrance would require planning board approval.
Actually, that's already in there.
Then we could just strike it. If I know
Yeah,
you were
you can
talking
just
about it.
strike that sentence and at the very end it says,
It's also on 39. There shall normally be not more than 1 apron and
You got rid of
a
normally.
residential lot. So you got rid of normally.
okay. Okay, so we're gonna end it, okay, so let me summarize our changes here. The first is B, line 32. The sentence reads, this permit shall be separate and in addition to any site plan review and prior to any building permit requiring a new or altered driveway. I guess that should be a site plan review
Isn't
that,
it part of a site plan review?
no.
well,
You don't want to see it at the same time that you're doing the site plan review.
So
yeah,
any-
the site plan review,
That's
that's-
ZBA's argument on the last one. They did and it wasn't there. So this is where I'm really trying to make sure that we're capturing all of this. They did and it wasn't there. So now
Okay,
what?
so I'm gonna rephrase this.
Right, I was trying to require it to be part of the site plan review.
We
Right.
did. That's why this is, I think, a loophole.
Okay, we're trying to solve the loophole.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, line 31 and 32, new try here.
Okay.
This permit shall be separate and in addition to any required site plan review and prior to any building permit requiring a new or altered driveway or entrance. That's the first change. The second change is to strike normally in line 39. So there shall be not more than 1 apron and curb cut. And in line 42, we're gonna strike after residential uses shall. Strike are encouraged to utilize and insert shall. Only one driveway entrance, period. Strike the rest of that sentence. which is the remainder of line 42 and 43. And lastly, in D, administration and enforcement, we are going to add a first sentence that says the applicant must submit a driveway entrance application, driveway/entrance application. Said application and associated regulations shall be developed by the planning board and may be modified from time to time. Said application shall be subject to regulations developed. Right, such applications shall be subject to. So now we've fixed all of the, not all, but. Okay. So I'll read that again. The application must submit a driveway/entrance application. That application shall be subject to regulations developed by the planning board and modified from time to time.
Read that first word, what do you say, the
A-
applicant?
Applicant,
The applicant.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I think that strengthens it.
Mhm.
I'll take a motion to accept all those changes.
Did we say the applicant or the owner?
Same thing.
Not really.
Well, I mean,
Could be the
Could be a
builder.
developer.
Applicant/owner.
Mhm.
or
Applicant
the
and
applicant
or.
or his representative.
The owner or.
Yeah.
Why not just the applicant?
Yes.
Well, the applicant on Arbella may not have been the owner, I'm finding out.
Right.
So,
The owner or their owner.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't think the one on,
what do you mean?
the one on the corner near C Street, is that it? I don't think that one was either.
But can we ever?
Okay, let's,
require them
let's-
not to be
let's-
the owner? Why?
Let's-
It's gonna be applicant. right?
The owner has to apply for it.
Yeah, I think owners, Paul said the owner was the
State law.
applicant for everything. That's, I had that conversation.
It-
Okay.
it's an
Yeah. Okay.
or the
So I have a
owner's
motion
representative.
for, Chris, did you move that?
No,
Christine, and then did you second that?
I'll second
I thought so too. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
I-
All opposed, any opposed? Okay, passes, how many of us are there? 1, 2, 3, 5 to nothing. Okay, storage of commercial vehicles and materials. This is really just moving this from the, zoning into, the general bylaws, and we kind of went, we've massaged this. Whether it's perfect is. Any discussion there? Okay, hearing none, and then we've moved the stormwater special permit into this bylaw and have basically taken all of Chuck's requirements from DEP and made them this. Now, I'm sure that as we think about climate change and resilience, we could make this stronger, but it is my opinion that we are strategic to simply say this is required by DPW to become in compliance. It is performance-based and it is now broader applicability, and that we move it forward pretty much, unless we have specific things that really are.
I think it came straight
Yeah,
from state language, right?
So.
Questions? Go ahead, sure.
So if in time we or some other board thinks about, more resiliency and say we want to have, we want to change the design storm. So we want to say it's the 2070, 100-year storm that you have to design to, and you have to make 25-year flood equal, the 2-year flood prior, and we want to put in some conditions like that, which will reduce potentially beyond what the state has required for quantity and quality reasons. Either to protect the watershed or prevent flooding, or, whatever the case may be. Do we come back and revisit the regulation? Do we put in a clause like we did for haircuts that says the planning board shall over time
I
modify
think in
these
this case, we
regulations?
want to modify the regulations.
Now, I've gone through two projects with the two schools that, with the planning board, site plan review. Or the Concom or both, I think, where was a third party was contracted by the town to review the stormwater for the state compliance and compliance with local bylaws, and it was quite extensive. It does not address if we want to make a storm, the applicable storm, more stringent
And that is the only way we will get at resiliency
for new.
for new. Yeah, I mean, it's a question of how how you apply this to retrofit as well.
Well, by moving it to the general bylaws, to Chris's point, I got 10 acres, let's say, and I wanna dig out back or pave or modify the topography so that it runs off. I can do that now because I'm not getting a building permit and I'm not getting a site plan review,
Landscape.
I'm landscaping. And
Mhm.
now it applies to me in the general bylaws. So by moving this to the general bylaws, we take a
That
big
makes sense.
step toward having a broader applicability.
So does this have a trigger such as, an acre of disturbance or whatever the
Earth removal.
earth removal?
I think it's the flow of groundwater.
Dig a big hole.
Applicability, no person shall undertake construction activity, including clearing, grading, and excavating that results in a land disturbance that will disturb equal to or greater than 1 acre of land and will disturb less than 1 acre of land, but as part of a larger common plan of development that will disturb equal to or greater than 1 acre of land, draining into the town's municipal separate stormwater system. Activities or land use, so that's the first, the activities or land use that require a special permit.
Yeah, so the 1 acre is typical. I mean, this is a huge improvement from where we're at right now in terms of the controls on it and moving it to the general, so it is more applicable.
Yeah, I mean, I think it
It
needs,
might be the place to start. I think we're just, as a board, we'll want to think about this. Going forward.
yeah,
Moving target.
Yeah, we don't have the bandwidth right now.
Yeah, yeah.
okay. And it still keeps it with us, yes. Okay, any other comments on this Article 2, the general bylaw? Okay, great. I should have started by saying this is I did, as we agreed last meeting, send to town council those articles which we had already pretty much wrapped up. So this one can go in a second batch. Those were the basically 1, 3, which is the delete and renumber. 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So all except for the housing ones. And the non-conforming.
Non-conformance, yeah, so where
Yes.
does the non-conformance stand?
Okay, so,
We do non-conforming.
sure, let's go do non-conforming.
Sure.
So we're talking about Article 7 here.
Okay, I have become the world's expert on non-conforming uses in this town, and it's not a happy picture, but, I want to read you the current bylaw because, it's not very long and kind of sets the stage for this whole thing. It says, and this is just one part of it, because this is about changes to non-conforming uses. A non-conforming structure or use may be changed, extended, or altered, provided that in each case, the Board of Appeals grants a special permit. Therefore, after finding that such change, extension, or alteration is not substantially more detrimental or injurious to the neighborhood than the existing non-conforming structure or use. The above requirement, however, does not apply to such an extension, alteration, reconstruction, or structural change to a single-family or two-family residential structure that does not increase the non-conforming nature of that structure. In other words, we're allowed now to modify non-conforming houses, 1 and 2 bedroom houses, without going to get a special permit under the.
1 and 2
terms of this.
family houses.
Pardon?
You said 1 and 2 bedroom, 1 and 2
1 and 2
family.
family
houses, yeah.
houses, I'm sorry, 1 or 2 family houses.
I thought it said it didn't apply to 1 and 2.
It did- So that's right, so you don't have to get a special, what applies is the special permit from the ZBA. But this language is so vague and so convoluted that it's very hard for the building inspector to make that determination. And so he says, if you're gonna change a non-conforming house, go get a goddamn special permit. And I can't make that determination. What Bobrowski is proposing is clarification as to when you get a special permit. When can you do it without a special permit? When do you need a variance? And so that's what this is all about.
So we're really not changing,
We're not,
we're clarifying, not changing, because the less detrimental language is in the current bylaw.
correct. We're not, yes, we're clarifying, not changing.
And the other,
It's much easier for the building inspector to say, okay, this one you go ahead and put that dormer on, it's not gonna make.
the de
any
minimis
difference. Yeah,
changes,
yeah, exactly.
okay? That's helpful.
Did we hear back from town council on my question?
On the case law, we did not, I
No,
asked.
no, no, no,
The question I think that I was asked to ask was, what are the case laws that that this will now help us comply with?
specifically, if you had this ranch home that was in the setback, could you put a second floor?
Yeah,
That
so-
was my question.
So we can clarify, I think we can clarify that with, by changing 1 or 2 words in this proposed language.
Oh, that wasn't my question, though. My
No.
question was town council, like, I wanted that
So
opinion.
currently, it's not clear, and
I think it's not
this
clear.
is not clear, it doesn't say one way or the other.
So we should make it clear.
So we want to make it clear,
I didn't ask that question.
and the
I'm sorry.
clarification would to say that any part of a building that's going to be extending a non-conforming use is going to require a special permit,
Not just extending a wall.
not just a wall, but just extending a building in any direction, up, down, sideways, whatever.
So the concern here then is less detrimental, right?
That's already in the bylaw.
What
Yeah,
do you mean that's not defined?
My concern with this is the second story in the setback. And by right, no neighborhoods, no going up. This is like really my only concern with this one, and I'm
So
gonna
So-
stick with
so-
We had the clause that was,
so
if
here's
it's in the setback, you can't
here's
do
the
that.
3 things that could happen.
Yeah.
You have a house sitting in the setback, you want to put a second story on it. Let's say you're sitting over 10 feet into the setback.
I know we've heard, like, I don't want you to rehash it. I understand all that. I get that. I know, I get that. But my thing is, can you put a whole second stories? And that's the conversation that we've been
You-
having.
You can only do that if you meet all the setback requirements in the lot.
So the answer
That's
is
only
no,
a- so
but
the
we
answer
need
is
to
no.
clarify it. It's this vague extension of the wall.
But the answer is no, you can't.
And I really do want, once we write this, I want town councils, I want to give that example and say, could they do this? Because we're taking away neighbors' input, we're taking away notice, and we're taking away input,
That's
and
true.
we're taking away appeal ability.
However, if they tore down the house and built a new 2-story house, meeting all the setback requirements, they wouldn't have to talk
But
to
these
anybody.
don't, right? And this is in the setback.
That's right, and it's
There's
in
two
the,
different situations.
so it's in the setback because when the house was built, there were no setback requirements and now there are. So we've essentially by putting the setback.
Well, I don't think
requirement
that's a really broad blanket statement saying that there were no, or well, I don't think we can say that with certainty for every application that's gonna come forward. So I think,
well, houses
We
are
did make a
non-conforming
change
because
last
the zoning
time.
came after the house typically.
So last time we made a change to try to address this issue.
1984. Is that what you mean?
No, last meeting.
That would be non-conforming.
Yes, yeah, sure. If you're in the setback already.
so the language is to me, and my question is, and that I asked for town council, If you go up, is airspace more non-conforming? And I think the argument is that it would not be, because your foundation's already there. You're not going any more back into the setback. You're going up into airspace, and I think this is the concern. So this is really my own,
I think that we can say that you can't build within setback by right.
Yeah, without getting a special permit. And you can't, and furthermore, if you wanted to put the second story in the house and then go out another 6 inches into the setback, you'd require a variance for
I
that.
understand.
Okay,
So line 41, this is change or substantial extension of the use. Is that the thing that you feel like we need to change to get this more precise about the setback question? Because substantial extension of the use, maybe, does everybody know what substantial extension means? That does seem like it could be
so
some-
this is what Sarah would like to say in section 7.4.
Sarah,
Sarah Melish,
Sarah Melish.
this is her request.
Sarah.
A variance or special permit required.
That would be the,
That's the header,
That currently it says variance required.
okay,
Now she's saying variance or special permit. required. Except as provided in section 7.5 below, the reconstruction, extension, or structural change of a non-conforming structure in such a manner as to create a new non-conformity shall require the issuance of a variance from the zoning board of appeals. Semicolon, the reconstruction, extension, or structural change of a non-conforming structure in such a manner as to increase an existing.
Do we have this? Can we
nonconformity.
put this up?
let's put this up on the.
I mean, I thought it was gonna be like 1 or 2 words. I'm not following you anymore.
Well, just one.
Well, I mean, I lost you like 4 sentences ago.
Okay, sorry, now I gotta
I
figure out
get
how to
lost
get
in
back
this
on.
all the time, actually. Are we putting it up? What are we doing?
I have to sign on for the meeting.
Oh, okay. Here, I can, actually, I have to give this to you.
Really?
I have copies of this, actually.
Oh.
The Sarah changes.
Yeah,
Oh, great, okay. Oh, this is the different, this is your, no, this is 9, section 9.
yeah,
This is
no,
9,
that's
that's 9.
fine. No mind.
All right, I gotta figure out the one.
When you want, I can find it. Give it, you know,
I'm getting one. Already joined by phone. Can you make me, okay, so. Okay. God. Okay, Chris, under variance. Changes on, hold on. Okay. Accept as right.
Okay, so. So you're gonna type this in as I tell you?
I'm
what
going to, yep.
Shall require the issuance of a variance. Third line down.
it starts with accept as provision by,
Right here, I got it.
No, there's no change
Yep.
there.
okay.
Or a variance from the zoning board of appeals. Semicolon. The reconstruction, extension, or structural change. Of a non-conforming structure. in such a manner as to increase an existing nonconformity, such as
This is raw nonsense.
then in the next line, strike also, shall also require, shall require.
Huh? Oh. Such as, oh,
Where, so strike all this.
No, no, leave it, just go to shall also require. go
So
down
strike also.
After
require,
yard,
After shall,
And then replace variance with special permit.
The, where, below or above where I am right now?
below, just. right above.
Shall, right here,
Yeah,
we're gonna require, so get rid of the semicolon, such as the extension of exterior wall, shall.
Require the issuance of a special permit.
I just,
Where did you change it? Not in the folder?
Yeah, there's a, I think I tried to post it on there.
No, Sarah.
Oh, Sarah.
this is in the folder.
I can't see.
It's under the, I've created a new folder with those, the September 26th folder. I'm trying to keep them separate. Mary wanted them separate from each time we modified them.
All right, so I'm in the November 22nd town meeting,
Yep.
zoning articles for review.
Yep, but no, not articles for review. There's an articles for the September 26th. November, it says articles with changes through 9/26. Go up one level from where you are. It's very hard to keep track of how to. You see my screen up there?
I can't really see that. That's why I'm like trying to look at it on my screen.
No, but that's the path.
Yeah, I got it now.
Okay, good. Oh, no, I've opened twice. That's kind of a problem.
yeah, don't do that.
up at the top there.
Okay, there we go. Okay,
Could you just start by making 2 sentences after ZBA period?
right.
So this can make some kind of sense. You didn't read it like that. Okay, thank you. What was she trying to say?
So if you're increasing the non-conformity, you have to get a variance. And if you're doing a reconstruction or a structural change, you have to get a special permit.
That's correct. But this does not apply to non-conforming single and two-family houses, which is what 7.5 is.
Okay,
So there is one change to make in the first paragraph of 7.5.
okay.
So,
Why would we have them separate first?
because that's what state law says.
Oh,
Case
that's
law.
the state law.
This is where it's all coming from,
State law handles single and 2-family houses separately.
separately.
And everything
It's
else.
actually a court decision.
I see.
Which
Okay.
said that this just doesn't apply because it would so hinder the development of housing in the Commonwealth that.
I see. So is everything, could you just
Okay,
go
what's
back
the-
up a little bit?
I mean, let's just get this change for now, 7.5.
Okay, so 7.5 is just a simple little thing. Non-conforming single and two-family structures, blah, blah, changed upon determination by the inspector of buildings that such proposed reconstruction, extension, alteration, or change does not increase or extend the non-conforming nature of said structure. And if we want to tighten that further to make it absolutely clear that you can't go in a second story into the setback, that's fine.
So
Extend it, you
what
can
is
say, or extend it.
Yeah,
What does
extend is-
extend, what is extend mean?
Means goes
Go
further in.
Further in, further up, further along.
Does include up.
Mhm.
Well, that's what the question is, does extend include up? We could say.
We could say
Extend
extend,
in any direction.
Yeah,
right,
yes.
But we do already have that in line 90.
No, that's a permissible change.
Right, I mean, it's the corollary to this,
Yes,
which is what is
right.
permissible. Is a thing that is within the setback and does not result in any increase in building height in the area of encroachment. Which is the setback.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Okay, so we have said it here.
Yeah, this is just, we're just saying it again.
Okay. So I too looked at, after, last night, I looked at this existing and I was very surprised to see that we have this this determination of less detriment or not more detrimental,
Yeah.
whatever it is in there already.
Yeah,
So I thought that was sort of the big thing, but
I
it's
think
not.
that's
how you
from the
determine it,
state,
right?
that's the
Yeah.
language is right from the state, the case.
Okay, I like these changes.
Could you please scroll back up to
Yes,
7.4
of
so we
course.
can see the whole paragraph?
Australia is trying to promote a.
I
law.
I heard that today. I was all for it. The straight talk
A
law.
straight talk law.
You heard that convoluted language. I love it.
So I've actually written little scenarios for each of these cases, so you can actually describe what's happening. Your front
So,
porch is. here.
My problem with the second sentence is it's grammatical.
Not the reconstruction or structural change.
No, it's that requiring the issue of a special permit is lost at the end of the sentence. Okay, so the reconstruction of structural change of non-conforming structure in such a manner as to increase existing nonconformity such as the extension of your exterior wall, blah, da, 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 shall require the issue.
But if we set this off with a comma,
Yeah,
We just state the fact first and then
Can
go
we
on to
say-
other stuff.
right,
can we say
the issue of, the
Special
issue,
permit.
a variance is
Yes.
required, a variance is required for, da, 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 a special permit is required for, da, 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 da. Don't put it at the end of the sentence.
Right.
Because you get lost by the time.
God, how unprobasky is computer.
uh,
A variance is required.
or if,
No,
when,
when, yeah,
good suggestion.
But then it
From the
still isn't-
ZBA, yeah,
yeah, a variance is required from the ZBA,
Right.
put that up top,
I will.
but it still doesn't quite
Required.
make sense yet. From the ZBA,
Um,
so when the construction in such a manner as to increase the existing,
mhm.
when the reconstruction. uh, For, I think it's more like,
When construction.
I don't think it's when, I think it's for reconstruction extension. Or structural change to a non-conforming structure,
To,
to a non-conforming structure. I guess you could argue that either way. In such a manner as to increase the non-conformity or create a new conformity, period.
right, so then,
Then a special permit is required from the ZBA. For the reconstruction. Or structural change of a non-conforming structure in such a manner as to increase the existing non-conformity such as. Da, 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 non-conforming distance within a required yard, period.
okay. Wish I could view that with, I'm online, I don't know
Oh,
if I
you
can view
can't
it
show.
without.
You can go to view and. You can go to view and
Oh,
see, no
yeah.
changes. Oh,
I think that helps a lot.
yeah,
Thank you, Chris.
There's a lot of brain cells died in this process.
so these are structures that are not single or two family houses,
That's
right?
correct, yes.
And is that clear here? You just go read on to the next one, because you're reading this paragraph and you think, well, this applies to my house until you get to 7.5. When you see this doesn't apply to my
Gail, I'm
house.
putting this in a separate document for you.
Oh, okay, except it's provided in section 7.5 below, okay.
Okay. This is for the.
Maybe if
minutes.
7.5 said exception for non-conforming single and two-family residential structures. That's the heading.
So you said you had samples, is that for the forum? Is that your intent?
Yeah, it was for the forum, yeah, maybe a
Okay.
cricket article.
Let's stick to
Okay.
any additional changes, any additional
Additional heading.
changes
Heading change,
for this section.
exception to non-conforming, exception for single and two-family 7.5.
And I believe this language must be vetted by town council. I think that's very important.
So the other thing is that Sarah suggested striking prior lawful, like a non-conforming structure.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Well, prior lawful was, it was lawful before you put the zoning
Yeah,
on,
that's
right?
true.
Yeah, so I think you need to keep that.
That's a Mark Bobrowski, thanks. Okay, looks like I see.
Did we make that change to
I
7.5?
will
They contain the changes. or-
I accepted all changes, but in this case, since I already sent it to them, I would probably keep the track changes on this one.
I would think that
Yeah.
would be good.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the changes to section 7.
So moved.
Second, do I have a second?
Second,
Any other discussion?
7.5 heading.
So that,
7.5, if you would, just for a moment. 7.5, exception for non-conforming single and family, two-family residential houses.
I'll accept that amendment to my motion.
Okay. Exception for.
okay, great, thank you. Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Did you vote or did you abstain?
I'm still thinking.
Okay.
Doesn't matter. I am not in favor of this. So
Okay,
I'm gonna say no.
okay, so we have that's a 4-1 vote. You want to abstain or you want to vote?
No.
Okay, vote, okay. Great, thank you, Chris. Okay, 7:45. Let's take one of the housing ones, then we'll jump to, well, let's keep chugging through this. We gotta keep going. Gonna unshare. Okay, Chris, you had a proposal for the residential conservation.
Yes,
Cluster.
after the vote at the last meeting, I thought about it quite a bit, and I think my vote was an error. I'd like to reconsider.
Motion to
This,
reconsider.
We have to do a common proceeding. So you had a handout.
Number 9,
Oh,
number 9 is 9
that's ADUs.
oh,
not ADUs.
okay, so,
You have a
Not
handout for,
ADUs. This is about the cluster.
yeah, no handout, okay.
At the last meeting, we talked about how small a cluster could be and whether we could require for a cluster of 3 units, one of them would have to be affordable. And I thought that was a great way of promoting affordable housing, but in fact, all it would do is prevent clusters of less than 6.
That's why I voted no for it.
That's why I voted no.
Yes, that's why I want to reconsider it. But I do think it's important to try to get affordable housing units built, and so I would like to propose that for clusters of less than 10, that a bonus of 1 unit could be provided to a developer if that unit were affordable. So that would I think Mary would be, I'm gonna speak for Mary because she's not here. I think Mary wouldn't like that because it would, for a very small cluster, you could probably say this too, that it would increase the density by a third on a very small lot. But I think in most cases, it'll be on bigger lots, and that extra unit, the need for affordable housing is so strong that I think it was considered.
I think it actually goes in the opposite direction that we were at. I mean, I think the less than 6 is where we need to target this. This is who's going to use it. I mean, we don't have a lot of land to do it, so
That's what I'm saying, exactly. So,
there's no affordable with less
so
than
I'm
6.
starting with the premise that it's, in any case, it's better to cluster units together and have more open space than not. And if we're going to penalize a small cluster by saying you have to have an affordable unit, we're just gonna get a conventional subdivision with no benefit to the town.
So on a small lot, the benefit is,
A cluster reduces, creates more open space, reduces disturbance to the land, does all kind, it's better, it's just better to do it cluster.
I mean, that's if the topography agrees with it, right? It
This
could
is-
not.
Of course, this is by special permit, so all of it has, yeah, of course, you're right.
So, I mean, there are lots of situations where it may not just make a difference at
So
all.
we don't issue a special permit in those cases.
And we
we
still
can-
have no affordable housing. So what are we doing for affordable housing with units less than 10?
So we're saying that we'll give you a bonus of 1 unit if you make it affordable.
With 6 units?
6 units, 3 units.
You say less than 10, you're not setting a
Less than
floor.
10.
Yeah. My concern was setting a floor of 1 affordable housing unit, because if you have a developer who wants to build 5 houses and has a lot that, a parcel that can support 5 houses on it, then until the math works, what we've just done is taken our residential conservation cluster and made it not work until you reach a certain number of houses.
So we
But,
could.
but we are still
we're
going to
still-
get the growth in houses. So by having an RCC or other kinds of housing possibilities, the housing growth is gonna happen. And so unless we were to put a tax on every single family house that got built and it went to affordable housing, you could say that you want to apply this to every house that gets built in Manchester, but the houses are getting built and we don't have any control over the single family housing or the usual subdivision to do that affordable housing.
Well, I beg to differ with this article because you took away the land minimum. We made it 0. So it used to be 50 acres and now we're down to
No,
0.
five
No,
acres,
it's never
5
50
acres.
acres.
Well, I mean, it used to be 50 and that's why nothing was being made. So, I mean,
That was
That was a
the,
different bylaw.
that was a different bylaw.
This was 5. Now
This
we're
was
trying to
5.
encourage,
now it's down to none, right?
No, 5, it was 20 and now it's 5, I believe.
No, it
No.
was, in
No,
the
it's
existing bylaw, it's 5.
Oh, it's existing is 5, okay.
And
Took that minimum
now we're
away.
making it down to the
Lot size required for the
lot size
district.
required for the
Yeah.
district.
So,
which will still get you a single family house and a single family house and a single family house under the conventional development, which will not add to our affordable housing unit, will not
Correct.
preserve
Correct.
environmentally sensitive land or provide open space or any other amenities to the house. So it's not a measurement against nothing, it's a measurement of business as usual, single family house development, which increases our the tally of affordable housing that we need. So it doesn't stop the, sort of tally from ticking upwards. I think it's another method to build housing that's environmentally sensitive and can accomplish affordable housing, but it doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting for affordable housing. We have to accomplish it other ways as well.
Okay, so
well, we're not doing anything right now. I
We
mean,
are doing
no, we're
something right now.
changing a lot of zoning and we're not doing anything for affordable.
We are doing things for affordable housing and we're also trying to do better environmental stewardship, less land, more land conservation, more open space, more amenities to the town as an option to typical single family housing development, which is how we got where we are today without affordable housing. We're finding other methods to do that and other environmental benefits as
so
well.
Chris, what is the specific suggestion to?
So the specific, I need,
I'm gonna-
I need my cheat sheet back. Oh, where's my cheat sheet?
Yeah, it's. Okay. I'm gonna bring up this section.
So what I, let's see. For clusters that would allow less than 6 units, the planning board may allow at its sole discretion no more than one additional residential unit if that additional unit were affordable and eligible for listing on the state housing inventory.
Okay. So can we back up here? Last time we added this basic affordability component, 9.2.8. Do you want to remove, your motion is to remove that?
Well, keep-
No, we had that before, but it was, we didn't, the only thing we added to that was a minimum of one.
Oh, minimum.
What we had before was you round up from 0.5.
Right.
requires
I'm just trying to figure out where the.
Yeah, so only the only change,
It's in that, if you go back, and it was in that, in the beginning there, right, the second line.
A minimum of one.
a minimum of one unit.
Minimum,
So change it to,
I'm gonna accept this change because we. What we had done, this is what we voted before. Oh my God. I can't fix that.
to delete it.
Control C. Okay, there we go. Gonna move this. Copy this. I hate this online word, but it's just one. And then density bonus, I think we're gonna need it. Oh, we just reorganized.
that was a sequencing thing,
Yeah,
putting basic
yeah,
affordable
okay.
first. But the change was also to add the minimum of one, that was what I voted on last time.
So you want to accept this and then redline it? Is that what you?
Oh, that might be easier, because now I know it's. Yeah, okay, so we can accept that change. Right, because this was just a,
And then we can.
yeah, okay, now we're in that, all right. So the question here is this minimum of one. So you want to strike as a condition of a grant of special permit for residential. A
Well, we'll
minimum
come back to
of,
that one after we get where the density bonus belongs. As a
right,
substitute for that.
well, a minimum of 10%.
No, because 10%. That's where we had started before.
We'd like to add 6,
Yeah.
it would be 0.6.
Yeah.
It goes up to 1.
Fractions, which is covered by that fraction.
Right, I think we can get rid of
maybe
a
we should
minimum
say,
of one.
maybe it should say, just to be clear, for clusters that allow less than 10 units. Because that would be the same.
We don't say that.
Where are you?
928.
This is the issue, fractions.
I mean, so you have 5 units, or you have. You have a parcel in District D that has double this lot space. So you can build 2, and now you're gonna give a density for 3. So now you're in a tight area.
Yeah,
You're gonna have 3 units where you could have 2, and so the idea of what, 6,000 square feet you need? Extra space, open space, I mean, there's just, the reality is there's gonna be no space.
In the
That's why you have
residential
to-
conservation cluster is probably not gonna work in District D.
probably not.
I mean,
Well, then let's list it, like, I feel
But
like
it's-
these are some of the things that we should
But
talk about and
that's
think
why
about.
it's a special permit. We don't have to do it. It's not allowing it. I mean, it's not,
Okay, can we come back to how many special permits have been denied in the last 5 years?
the reason there are so many given is because our zoning bylaws are so crazy that people have to get.
So what we're trying to remedy things to say what's wrong and not figure out remedies for this. I think the point here is to try to.
The higher
Well,
view
right.
is to have that environmental friendly cluster.
Right, I don't think
that's the higher view we
two lots
wanna
in
create.
District D, 12,000 square feet are gonna just lot coverage.
But
Yeah,
so if you
probably.
started where you were before,
Right.
at rounding up from the
Right.
fraction, you get to 0.5. This says 0.6, but really, if you get to 0.5, that means you have 5 units. And only, so you can't do it on 2 units, and you
Right.
can't do it on 3 units or 4 units. You have to get to a big enough piece of land, which is a bunch of
Maybe we
parcels,
say-
adjacent parcels and District D, if you're doing that. Only then do you get to the affordable,
if you
because it
have-
doesn't make sense for,
If you had 10
2
acres in
units.
District D, you could do it.
sure.
I don't
If
think
that
there are
came
any
off.
10-acre parcels.
No, I think if you had 10 6,000 square foot lots.
Can we
adjoining-
make the
yeah.
minimum of this whole thing applicable to 10, so we definitely get one?
No, because we want clusters of less than 10 units. Because that's in the town's interest to do it.
But we're gonna increase the bonus. If
No.
you save some space, no, but there's lots of things in here that we can increase bonuses for. I'm saying that you can serve open space. There's lots of bonuses here. Like bonuses are used a lot. It's just kind of tossed around. You get a bonus for this, a bonus for that. It's not. Under special permits, I feel like we can make a bonus and it doesn't have to be affordable if it's less than 10. I mean, there's not a lot of controls.
So your suggestion is to strike the minimum, the one up here, minimum of 1. And then you also suggested
You were suggesting a density bonus for a
affordable.
number under,
Under 10.
which is already happening if you're at 5 or 6 or 7 or 8.
Right, no, it's already
So-
here.
So it's already there. So
Yeah,
it's only
so-
not happening in 1, 2, 3, or 4,
No,
where
I guess
perhaps
that's
it
true.
doesn't make sense because.
Right,
it's a
you've got it
small
right here.
lot.
The planning board may also award a density bonus of a minimum of 1 unit or 10% of the total number. So if I have 3 units, I could get a benefit. I could get a density bonus of 1 if I have 3 units.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a motion to,
Wait a
to,
second, which section are you looking at? That
I'm
says
looking at the affordable,
for each additional 10%.
a minimum of 1 for.
Of the site over the open space.
Yeah.
One dwelling unit. Well, so does that apply to under 10 units or under 5 units?
I think so. Why wouldn't it?
Under 5 means 4,
4,
does
Right.
not apply.
Why,
right, why doesn't it
Because the
apply?
because
Because you're rounding up at the fraction.
No, but look at number 3. The planning board may also award 9.2.9 density bonus. The planning board may award a density bonus of a minimum of 1 unit or 10%. The total, so 1 unit, if I have 4 units, I get 1 more. I can, if I'm entitled to 4, I could get an additional 1. If I'm entitled to 3, I could get an additional 1. If I make one of them affordable.
So long as you have the parcel that would allow you.
so the 10% rule is.
Right. No, if my parcel, let's say a parcels are 3 acres, just for easy math, and I have 3 acres, I can put, and I want to put 3 units clustered together. I could add a 4th unit for, if it's affordable.
And so does there need to be a minimum percentage of open space? As a percent of the.
I think there is. Is that 20%? Is that up at the beginning?
Well-
Density bonus resident clusters shall not in the aggregate exceed 20% of the maximum number.
That's the bonus thing. so bonus, but there's no
I
requirement.
think you need I think you need to constrain on the minimum of the open space.
It's 20%, but it can be very subjective.
Well, I think this the special permit will, I mean, it has to show a benefit to the town.
Of course, yeah.
The amenity, so it can't just be the utility corridor or something. But I think we just want to make sure that we're not doing the math so that by adding additional density bonuses, you're then undercutting the open
How would
space.
you state that?
Well, just use D. I mean, the percentage is even less than that.
So can I just clarify that our current residential conservation cluster doesn't have a bonus for affordability?
No,
No, it doesn't.
That's correct.
Correct.
So that's an important point that we're adding a bonus for affordability. So regardless of whether it's perfect or whatever, we're making a step, a big important step.
Cautious.
Cautious.
I think important cautious
A
step.
big important cautious step. We're making a step of whatever size toward improving affordability. 9.2. It's still 9.2. I suggest that we simply, that's what we had before. So we had added that minimum of 1 last time,
Oh, okay, well, so then
I
maybe,
believe.
maybe I was misunderstood what I voted for. I don't know.
Okay, so we're gonna strike of 1 unit.
We're gonna strike minimum of 1 unit. Just one unit.
A minimum of 10%.
And I'd like to make a motion to line 127. and 128.
Which of the section, because they don't, what line?
Oh, 9.2.13 contiguous open space.
2.13.
Yeah. Contiguous
Oh,
open
open.
space. A minimum of 20% of the parcel shown on the development plan shall be contiguous open space. What I'm trying to say is, you can't make that less than 20% with your density bonuses.
In no case,
In
Shall be continuous open space.
contiguous open space. Should be contiguous.
I think you have to
so
put,
number 3 is where I think the concern is. The contiguous open space shall be made unbuilt, provided that the planning board may permit up to 10% of such open space to be paved or built on.
Which one are you on?
3.
Oh, number 3, okay.
Okay, let's stick with 9.
But I think we may be able to capture it there.
Yeah, so that's a section of 9.2.13. She's
Oh,
going to
yes, okay.
bullet 3. The planning board may permit up to 10%.
Something like, provided that no density bonuses were allowed or additional.
Let's see.
I mean, it says, it doesn't give any exceptions for first of all, the section on a minimum of 20% of the parcel.
3 is the exception.
These are not exceptions.
You can build on
They're
it.
just clarifying.
You can pave up
build on it.
to,
you make a basketball.
you can pave
Yeah.
10% of 20%.
Right, so.
I'm just
But you
saying,
cannot, yeah,
D is in the water resource over district. I mean, we're adding bonuses. I mean, this is, we need to be concerned. I mean,
Can we just
about,
strike
that's
that?
why to do it. I mean, that is why to cluster housing in a water resource area
Should we,
is less impervious, smaller, less land disturbance.
if
What
you're
if-
not giving a lot
to-
of bonuses,
so
maybe.
what's your suggestion on number 3?
So my suggestion on number 3 is, I'm sorry, that was Christina's thing.
Yeah, but-
I was trying to get to 9.2.13.
Yeah,
So a minimum of 20% of the parcel shown on the development plan shall be contiguous open space.
regardless of density bonus.
Regardless of density bonus. Which may not be, let's see, should be contiguous open space. Which may
Yeah,
not
can I
be,
just
which
put
may not be
parentheses?
reduced by the density bonus. Regardless, doesn't really get what I'm after. So a minimum of 20% of the parcel shown on the development plan shall be contiguous open space. Which may not be reduced with the density bonus.
In
And, yeah,
Okay,
with any density bonus rewarded. That,
okay, and then
Around
this
9%.
one, the continuous open space must remain unbuilt upon. Except, how about except by permit, the planning?
um.
How about get rid of paved? Get rid of, just say pervious,
Get rid of it.
Get rid of that clause altogether.
yeah.
I mean, I feel
Well,
like
I
you're
think
making
it's
another
saying you can't
reason
Pave it, basically. You can pave it for a walk or a shed, but you can't pave it,
for your open space,
right?
but I think this is saying you can,
10% of it.
half of it.
No, 10% of
10%
20,
of the
20% of the parcel, and then,
Yeah.
No,
No, no,
10% of the 20% area. So you
10%,
take- here's-
20.
you have 200 square feet.
Here we go, here's your big parcel, there's 20%. You can take 10%
10%
of
of
that.
the 20%.
That's what you can pay.
To put your shed on or your pave your pedestrian.
So
Yeah.
10% of such open space.
Okay. We can make that clearer, but I'm still not.
Yeah, I think upset open space would be good.
It says of such open space.
Well, so
Structures.
Of required
accessory to
open
the-
space, would that make better?
Do we
Rather,
need that number 3 at all?
can I say required open space? Required.
No, I don't think that makes it
Such.
clearer. Such open space is the contiguous open space.
Okay,
You can say may permit no more than 10%. It means the same thing, but it sounds more like the negative than positive.
I guess if we want the open space and it's in a dense area, why are we allowing more to be paved on? To me, it seems,
it's up to the planning board,
yeah, we don't have to.
may permit. Doesn't
So
say
if somebody
where-
wants to have a nice walkway through to the garden
Or to Powder House
with
Hill,
their,
or something.
yeah, whatever. you
And,
know.
and I think, an accessible path for wheelchairs to
Yeah,
go see a
right,
garden
exactly.
or something. Okay, any other motions? We have, a modification, 2 modifications. One is to those are modifications from previously.
do we really want the,
Delete the one unit. That's the modifications in blue are tonight's 10%. And the other one is this, which may not be reduced by density bonus in section 9. We can't reduce the density bonus. Any other
Can reduce the open space.
motions?
just want 9.2.14. Contiguous open space at the applicant's election be conveyed to that sentence. Shall be conveyed to the town or its conservation commission. I mean, do we really want a teeny tiny parcel in the middle of somebody's backyard? Do we want that liability?
That's a good question.
I think the town has to vote to accept things that are come to it. You can't just get land, you have to vote to accept it.
Right, and if you put it in conservation, that's an overlay. That's a deed restriction. It's not, it's
No,
not.
the conservation commission can, and the town can own land without it being deed restricted.
Okay,
I just feel like we're taking some onerous off the applicant here to like mow their lawn and putting it on. us.
sorry, I'm trying to catch up with you.
That's 14.
Do we really want that? Do we want to put that in the applicant's hands?
Well, I think it's more thinking about the parcel. So there are a couple of things. One is if it's in a neighborhood, it might maintain a
Park, Cotler's Park.
a
Wetland.
wetland, wetland or a park is sort of more typical. But in a larger parcel, it could be conveyed to the town for connection because it's the backland that connects one parcel of conservation land to another. And so we want to be able to have people traverse it
an owner might not want the liability of that.
So what does that language say? I think Christina had a point though. It was that the
Says it's at
developers.
the applicant's election.
So
Yeah.
maybe you should say the applicant may offer to the town.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like they can say, okay,
Okay,
The applicant at the, okay, contiguous open
It says at
space.
The applicant's election.
Yeah,
well,
Yeah.
so
could
the
we just
town's
say the other
election.
way? Could we just say at the town's
Town's
election?
election is what you're trying to say, I think.
Well, the applicant has to.
The applicant has to, I mean, it's a mutual agreement, right?
Yeah.
Town gets
The
it.
mutual agreement of town and applicant or
I
something.
just don't want it to be held over our heads saying, okay, I can do this and but you need to take this land and
yeah, I
maintain it.
think it's a good point.
Okay, so upon.
Did it say the contiguous open space shall at mutual agreement by town and applicant be
Or
conveyed
it's not
to,
just town though.
who else is it?
Well, there are three options, the town, a nonprofit organization, or a trust jointly held in common by the owners of the lots. So basically a condo, like a association,
Mhm.
Right. But through our special permit, we have to.
may offer the contiguous open space to. I think that's fine, because you can't, people aren't gonna take ownership of open space unless you have to agree to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I think by definition,
yeah, I think that's good.
okay, let's wait till she comes back. Any other, okay, thank you, Chris.
Yeah, thank you.
So, as soon as Christine comes back, we'll vote. Senior housing, AD. And workshop.
We're doing better than I thought we were
The
gonna.
workshop's gonna be easy. I haven't even figured it all out. You had passed out a handout last time on the affordable, on the ADUs.
Yes,
Is that still something you want to come by?
yes.
Okay, so let's make sure everybody has that. And I had a. Everybody want to stretch?
Yes.
I'm gonna do my visuals.
Are there people in the meeting besides you?
Kathleen, Catherine Bellata, or
Kathy?
We take a break or take a break? I don't want to get.
Kathleen, of course.
On station. Next one is. Yeah, which ones we said we're going together, so. That one. Together.
Think of the workshop right here in front of our eyes. You put some here, Sarah. Sarah,
I'll put the thousand ones there. And this one is, we know this was wrong. So we got the idea. Okay. I was gonna go to Staples to get some boards, but to just demonstrate. I think we can use our imagination.
yeah.
Oh. So, we can actually all start looking at this too. I actually do find it's easier to use paper than. So this is from Mary and Gary. Careful. That's the one. Take it up after we, okay, let's talk about, okay. So accessory dwelling units.
Okay. So,
No,
that's on handouts. No, we didn't want to-
no.
You guys voted on that last one, I'm sorry.
Oh, we haven't voted on the last one.
Did you vote on the last
No,
one? I'm
we
sorry.
didn't.
I'm sorry, I'm waiting for you. All right, okay, sorry, I'll take a motion for the changes to the article for residential conservation clusters as presented.
So moved.
So I've Chris moved and Ron seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Christine, we have 4-1. Great, okay, thank you. Now we are going to talk again about ADUs.
Okay. What I would like to propose that we talk about, breaking the ADU warrant into 2 warrants. And there are a couple of reasons for doing it, but the most important one is that by separating them, the one would pass by require 2/3 vote and the other by a simple majority of town meeting. So they have to be broken up anyway. And the other thing is
So why
that
do they have to be broken up anyway?
because one of the votes requires a 2/3 majority and one just requires a simple majority,
Oh, you're saying that as we've written it, it would require,
2/3 for the whole thing.
well, no, we would actually have to break it into 2. I think we would have to break it into 2
Yeah,
already.
exactly.
Why?
Because there are 2 votes. One is requires a 2/3 vote and one requires a simple majority.
I thought based on the size, it was 2/3.
Land use, is it?
No, 900, the reason, anything under
That's why the
900
900
square feet is the
900 square feet
50%.
is-
And because we're mixing the 2,
But there are also political reasons for doing it, which is, I think the most important thing we can do is loosen up the ridiculous constraints on ADU development now, which is in the existing bylaw, which says you have to have a double lot and your house has to be built before 1984, and you need 4 parking spaces. So what I'd like to do is have that be one motion to simply strike those sections of the current bylaw.
so I had proposed that as well in the motion, we never got to.
You and I think on the same page, I guess.
The motion, that new motion page that we had, we look at the very back. What number?
I said, I actually suggested adding 2 articles. The first, so I actually wrote them out to see if the town modifies section 9.1 of the zoning bylaws to delete section 9.1.2. Except in single residential district D, the lot size should be 2 times the limit,
Yep.
So, and the single and delete the single family dwelling shall have existed on lots as of March 1st and renumbering the remaining sections
And to replace.
and require 3 parking
Yeah,
spaces.
3 parking spaces.
So I can pull that up. So let's talk about the big picture first, then we can talk about the specific language.
Then the second change that I had suggested was to modify the use table to add or family member after employee and delete the word existing garage before garage. So that's a separate issue. Um. So do we, as we think about the Article 9, or the Article 9, or 9.1, what about us?
Section
I know, but I need to find. Have them organized.
Yeah, stop talking.
I know, we stopped talking.
Just checking. I was
Good to
gonna call
check.
back in. Are you still there?
It's good to check, Gail.
Well, usually you're checking on me.
I guess where there's a dull in space, I'd like to make a note for the record that I have a fundamental problem with this motion being brought forward after one of our planning board members who brought this has not shown up for the majority of the last 5 months of planning board meetings.
So noted.
So,
So I think we've voted as a board to move it forward, so it's on.
I'm
the
just
table.
saying, that I think there's a problem that someone brings it forward and then doesn't show up,
By a group of people. I
which
think
the member was a leader of.
I think at this point, it's now owned by us collectively. I share your frustration on that.
Just, but I don't think
I think
it's
we all
like
should.
relevant to this anymore. I mean. So, okay. So you think as written, it is a 2/3 vote? It's unclear.
I guess it's unclear, but it is also, this is a very controversial issue and I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Right.
So I'd like to do this first. So at least we can have like special permit accessory dwelling unit, which you can't get now.
Right.
At all.
So my suggestion would be that we leave the existing as is, and assuming that it's a 50%. And that we add a Article 12. If you had, does everybody have the motion list? It might be easiest to make.
Yeah.
The-
11
That's okay.
or 11?
No, the motion list that I did along a couple meetings ago.
You have it as page 6.
Yeah,
Yeah, page 6, the very last page, I added 2 motions. Or 2 articles, and my thought was if the ADU passes, if this Article 13 passes, we move to pass over the
I guess we can do it in any order.
well, I think it makes more sense to do it with the Article 11, the existing ADU first. If that fails, then the other stays in effect. The existing one is still in effect. So then we would move to modify the existing one,
Okay,
I think sequentially. So I was not making any changes to the existing one, but to simply assume that if the proposed bylaw does not pass, then we would make a motion to strike the except in 2-family district and the 1984 and to renumber and to require 3 parking spaces.
I don't have any problem with that. It was, I mean, I think it works either way. One way we make
Right.
the changes and then it gets superseded by the second one, or it gets, either way it works. But I don't care how it goes.
Yeah. And I think we do need town council's advice about whether the proposed bylaws of 50%
Why
or.
don't we have that yet?
Yeah,
What?
that's-
Why don't we have that yet? I mean, like, why don't we know that?
you haven't given it to them yet, that's why.
We gave it to them in the spring, no?
Unclear what was given to them in the spring, because because the warrant was never posted. It didn't go to town council. We didn't send it to town council, I don't know if you guys, but. So that's my suggestion, is we leave this, that we don't make any further changes tonight to the and that we take up adding Article 12, which is. But I'm gonna move to add a new Article 12. Let's see if the town will modify section 9.1 of the zoning bylaws to delete section 9.1.2.2. Except in single residential district E, the lot shall be 2 times the minimum lot size is determined. I think that should probably be in quotes.
Mhm.
And B, the single family dwelling shall have existed on the lot as of March 1st.
Aren't you,
Those are, we want to delete those.
isn't that what you just said you were gonna do? Sorry, I'm
What?
confused. I
Yeah,
thought
me
you
too.
just said that you didn't wanna amend the existing.
No, this is adding a new article to the warrant. So
Okay,
adding, and this is not, we have an existing ADU bylaw.
yeah, right, I get that.
So this would be passed over. If this first one that we've been working on for many months
Yeah,
failed,
yeah.
then we would take up the
Article 12.
modifications.
So those are the 3 paragraphs that follow. So you move to add the new article. If that fails, then
Correct.
then you do these.
Right, so we would move to pass over, because it would make no sense to do it. And we could do them in either order. I just think it's more dangerous. It's confusing. I think it's less.
No, it's
confusing.
fine. I think it works fine either way.
What is this handout that you? I think
Yeah, what is
this
this handout? This
And on
handout you
page
did.
3, it's talking about a single driveway entrance if possible. What's this?
Oh, that was, so at our last meeting, that was discussed, at ADU, remember you wanted to add a single driveway that we couldn't put in a
Single
second.
driveway
driveway.
entrance if possible.
So why are we taking out existed as of March 84?
Because a lot of houses have been built since March of 1984. That wouldn't be eligible for
That was 12%.
accessory
So I think
dwelling.
it needs to be built by something.
Why is that relevant? What the date is?
Yeah, it could
84
be
is totally
1750, who
arbitrary.
cares?
Well, I think the bigger question is if it was built in 2022.
If you can build it tomorrow with an ADU.
Well, it has to be a pre-existing house.
Well, that's my point. If you don't put a date, then where is that captured?
It's captured by the calendar.
This doesn't say that. This doesn't say that you can't build a house with an ADU.
No, it says my motion does not, but the existing says an owner of a single family dwelling may apply to the Board of Appeals for a special permit for the construction of one accessory dwelling unit to such dwelling. So
You could
presumably,
say to an existing dwelling.
well, that would, okay, we could add existing. Then we have to.
So you build it, it doesn't have a stove, it has a separate entrance, you build it like it's a 2-family or a home with an ADU, and then you go to the ZBA and apply for the ADU.
Special permit, yeah.
Okay, that seems ridiculous.
As opposed to what? Saying it's gonna be a week old or a year old? Is that gonna make any difference to anybody? 3 years
Well, I
old,
think
it's just
the-
arbitrary.
No, not necessarily. I think the intention was to create new housing within an existing structure, not to build new housing like bigger, so you can have a 900 square foot ADU. I think we're kind of defeating the purpose of, the intent of the original bylaw.
What are you proposing then?
I like the date. I like some kind of a date.
And what
Well-
would that be?
What if it was the single family dwelling shall have existed on the lot for 2 full years? Shall have had a certificate of
I think it's
occupancy,
just being arbitrary. Why not 1 year?
well, a duration. Because then we don't have to change it. Presumably, see, this was added in 1987, so it was only for the last 3 years. So we could,
Yeah.
you know. That, I guess, maybe I'm trying to get this to over the finish line here. That's what I'm trying to do.
I like the date that was there. I think we're kind of pulling it out. We've had conversations and pulling it out at the last
Well,
minute.
1984 is
Totally arbitrary,
ridiculous.
meaningless.
Okay, so that we have difference of opinion. We have a difference of opinion on that. Let's not disparage people's
I'm sorry,
opinions.
no, I didn't mean to disparage it. I don't understand why 1984 is relevant.
Okay, so
So
we're- it's
if there's
gonna be a matter of
concern about, thing, what,
Okay.
yeah, is it a duration issue that would?
I think it's, to me, it's about the house exists and then we, so.
To me, I feel like a developer could take advantage of this and build a new home with another additional, I think the intent of this original bylaw was for the heater District D to use existing homes or wherever, to use what we had, not to build something with an additional unit and make the the new structure even bigger. So I feel like we're not being true to what the original intent was.
The ADU, I mean, you couldn't build a single family house with an ADU. And a separate kitchen though, right? I mean, you would still have to go through a special permit. Let's just say we didn't have anything about duration or an existing house. You would have to go through a special permit as a developer to build a house with an ADU unit with a separate kitchen and all that, right? Is that, I think that's what it's asking. So you can't build them by right. No, maybe I'm not right about that. This is.
I think you could, you just don't put a stove in it.
Well, you still have to apply for the special permit
For what?
for the ADU.
Okay, what if, can I make a suggestion
Yeah.
that we strike A and modify B, a single family dwelling shall have existed with an occupancy permit for 2 full years? I'm just trying to
That seems like. it could
arbitrary,
work.
what?
That seems like it could work.
Yeah,
For,
I mean, I'm
a
trying to,
developer's not gonna hang around.
and renumber the
Keep it exciting.
remaining subsections, and then what do we have with parking?
So what you're saying, the single family dwelling unit should have existed for the past
Right.
2 years.
Yeah, and change the 4 spaces to 3 vehicles,
See,
change C. Change C. I think what we would do is just list a new section 9.9. Replace 9.1. Point 2. Rewrite 80. If we rewrote A, B, and C, I'm trying not to open up the can of worms on the rest of it. And simply say, just say in the lot size shall be the minimum lot size to determine by zoning. Not 2 times. So the minimum lot size shall be determined by zoning, so strike
The 2 times.
the lot size shall be,
Mhm.
the lot size shall be, strike 2 times the minimum. That just the minimum lot size is determined. The single family dwelling shall have existed with an occupancy permit for 2 full years and off-street parking for at least 3 vehicles.
Well, we had added lot coverage compliance. Do we need in the big one, do we need to add it here too? to
We
ensure
probably
we're-
do, but I think
Yeah.
what we're trying to do is,
Yeah.
it's gonna be late at
Yeah.
night. We're already late at night
Right.
now.
Mhm.
And I think what we're trying to do is simply get rid of the 2 big
Okay. including
problems,
adding
not
things.
try to fix everything, because then we go down the rat hole of what we
Yeah.
just talked about. So that's what I'm trying to do, is just, if the one that we've been talking about all along fails, reduce the lot size and get rid of the 1984. And
So you're saying you have
parking.
to have you have to meet the minimum requirement lot size?
Yeah.
But that's not gonna work for half the town.
You don't have to have the lot size?
No one's got the proper, good
I
lord,
surely do.
you do, but.
I
sure
mean, you said
don't.
no one. I mean, I know
I'm
plenty of
saying-
people
I'm
that
saying-
do.
No, I did not say,
Okay,
so
so
when I
you-
said half the town. Half the town is not necessarily you.
So if they don't have a lot size, how are they gonna have parking? I mean, there's just so many things that you.
So in my district, you need 2 acres. I think there's room for a parking lot there with an ADU.
So I mean, I thought that was the whole basis of this. I don't think we ever talked about not having the lot size.
Well, no one in District E has got 2 acres, and very few people. And it was done on purpose, frankly. To stop people from changing their houses. So I'm opposed to that. I'm dead. I think you do have to meet lot coverage.
Don't you just strike the
requirements.
whole thing in that case, except in
That's
the
what I
single district
originally said.
residency?
Yeah, that's what I'm
Just
saying.
take that.
Strike
All right,
the
take that
whole-
out.
And it's by special
I was-
permit,
Yeah.
so the ZBA can say your lot too small, you can't do it.
And again, how many have they said no to?
Oh, jeez.
Well,
One,
let's,
one.
Because you can't.
okay, let's
Clear the law.
talk about this, my motion, which is, okay, I'm gonna rephrase it. To see if the town will modify section 9.1 and to delete A, 9.1.2.2, deleting A. And modifying B to say the single-family dwelling shall have existed with an occupancy permit for 2 or more full years. And renumbering the remaining sections.
No, before it has
You
3
want to change the park.
parking. to
Change,
3.
yeah, change C parking from 4 to 3.
Don't move.
All right, I have motion, do I have a second? I'm gonna second. So Ron moved that and I second it. Any other discussion? All in favor? And opposed?
Surprise.
Okay,
No.
that's fine. We all have a right to vote for or against things. Okay, my second additional article was to see if the town will modify section 4.2, the use table, which I hope and pray has been adopted. And if it hasn't, we'll just pass over this. Section E, number 7, and note 13 by inserting or family member after employee, deleting existing before garage. So this is because the zoning board of appeals is getting the employee exemption is obsolete. And largely unenforceable anyway. And people are saying that their mother is employed to take care of the dog or whatever is happening. So the reality is people are adding, and I was mistaken when we originally talked about this, that this was an ADU. This is just this is an accessory housing. This is separate from the ADU, which is really what's happening. This is really the issue, and there are currently no regulations around this, and I think that goes squarely into the future things that need to be buttoned up.
I agree. In fact, there probably should be a size limitation on these.
Right,
things.
I totally agree. But we have not held a hearing on that. We have held a hearing on the use table. Therefore, we can amend the use table.
What
So
was the existing garage in reference to? And why? It's now a new garage. It was an existing garage before. What was that in reference?
That
to
was
in the
just Sarah
table?
Melish's suggestion to take out existing garage in the note. I'm not one way or the other. It might be less complicated to worry about the garage piece.
So if we're amending the note to the table, could we not say, provided that the unit is not larger than 20% of the size of the existing house? Or is, or am I?
Wait a minute, what? What are you saying, Chris?
I want to try to limit the size of these things.
Of what things?
These
These
employee,
family-
family-owned, family member houses.
Well, I think some of these is why the date was there, right? They're pre-existing. They're.
No, this is not actually, this is not, the accessory dwelling unit is
No,
separate.
no, that's what I mean. These are old carriage homes.
They can be, but they aren't necessarily, there's no.
When you read the bylaw, it's an accessory use that's allowed by special permit, not subject to the accessory dwelling unit. Provisions. It's a,
Yes, but I think the assumption was, that's why some of these dates are there. They're not, they were existing.
but this is not, this employee exemption has nothing to do, does not have a date with it.
We can read it.
Go- Well, no, I think you have to go to the four
In the
point.
notes table, in the.
So if you go to our existing bylaw.
Section.
Where?
As part of an existing garage, stable, or other existing structure approved by special permit for the Board of Appeals, family living quarters for and to be occupied only by an employee of the owner occupant of the dwelling, while such garage, stable, or existing structure approved by the Board of Appeals is an accessory use. Said employees must be employed on the premises.
So
That's currently allowed by right? Or the.
No, it's special permit.
So I think the concern with that one is they're not they're not accessory dwellings, right? So they don't need a kitchen. Like every employee, if you're the cook, you don't need your own kitchen. Like you could,
It's a separate dwelling unit itself. It's a, what does it say, a family?
it doesn't say dwelling unit though, 'cause
It's
accessory
family-
building.
family something.
Garage.
Family
stable.
living quarters
Yeah.
Family living quarters. That would sound like a kitchen to me.
to be occupied by an employee.
Family living quarters.
Hmm.
So, but let's say family living quarters, we have boarders, those aren't necessarily need a kitchen, right? So,
Not necessarily, but the point is the Board of Appeals is now granting special permits.
Under this exception.
Under the except for, to allow mothers-in-law to.
no, I know.
So I think on this issue, we have two choices. One is to try to remedy it, at least with just a simple adding the word family member. Was my suggestion, because that's what's happening.
Yeah, I
And
think,
we
yeah.
could, I would think that while we should limit it to 20% or 30% or 26%. That it's too late now to have that discussion.
Okay. let's
So
just-
my suggestion is that we just add, and Sarah Melish wanted to add this is a request
Yeah,
from Sarah Melish. I think we can strike, if we're not worried about the existing,
Yeah.
existing in the garage.
I agree.
Okay.
But to add family member, and it's,
Okay.
that's my suggestion. Let's keep it simple. Get rid of the deleting except,
Yeah.
so after employee.
Did
period.
you make a motion to do? it?
Yes, my motion is to see if the town will to add it, Article 13. To see if the town will modify section 4.2, parentheses, the use table, section E, number 7, and note 13 by inserting a quote, or family member after quote, employee,
Period.
period. So that's my motion.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor? That was a 5-0 vote, Gail. Okay, so that's accessory dwelling units. Whew. Senior housing. And then we have one, we have to go back to 12,
Here.
one thing. Okay, senior housing, we said we would think about it, and anybody have? We did say we would ask Sue to look at Hamilton, and I have received nothing from,
I looked at
but you looked at him,
I did look at Hamilton.
okay.
So Hamilton combines it with their farm something. I mean, it's very low density development. It has all of the same kind of development restrictions or standards that we have. It's just, they're doing the same thing that our existing one does. They keep repeating
All the stuff.
all the stuff in it, so it makes it look much more comprehensive than it actually is.
Well-
They do have a table which shows different acreages, you can have a certain number of units. But it's really not applicable to Manchester because the parcels of land are so much bigger in Hamilton than they are here.
They put a maximum period, right? I think it's 100 total, 50 per year, 50, so
Sure,
they have an absolute minimum. They have, you can't have two senior centers, you know, within X amount of feet from each other.
Yeah,
They're
they do,
trying
that's
to
right.
eliminate, you know, emergency services from overcrowding one neighborhood. So I think they do a lot of things that we just haven't, because we're so much more dense, I think there's some concerns that we,
I think it's the kind of prescriptive requirements that hinder good design by doing all those things.
So I think that, I thought a little bit about your comments last time, actually, and I think you made some good points. My thought on this is that we should try to advance it at this town meeting. And that we're not gonna get a flood of them
No.
in the next year. And then we should put on our work plan to, sort of say, here's here's how we're going to regulate them, and we could probably do a build out analysis of what might happen.
I suppose we could say that the planning board can issue regulations.
Yes. That's a good idea.
well, Chris, I think the concern I have with this is that everything that's listed in the senior housing bylaw is all commercial senior housing. It's not real housing. You're capturing the 55 plus or the 50 is in the residential conservation cluster. This doesn't capture a normal 55 standalone development.
Could.
Yeah, it could, sure. of course it does.
Ours doesn't though.
Yeah, it does, independent living, that's what independent living is.
You're allowing, and I think the article is a little,
We,
huh?
we voted it, so it's a we. The article, okay, go
Oh.
ahead,
What did I say?
you.
You. Oh, no, you wrote it, no, you wrote the newspaper article, you wrote the article, and it says that there's no zoning that changes any commercial use, which I think that statement is false. Because what we do, huh?
Okay, keep going.
Because these are commercial uses, so we are changing, we're allowing for-profit assisted living facilities in any district. So for me, that newspaper article, sorry, Chris, you did write it, I think, you wrote, is false and misleading a bit. So I don't think we capture the 55 plus. I mean, the last conversation that we had, we were leaving that to the residential conservation cluster, which it's not, to me, captured in this, the senior housing.
What would you suggest?
I liked Hamilton's personally. I think we're missing out on the 55 plus.
The 55, our Hamilton 55 plus facilities are probably both owner occupied, like condos and, commercial. Apartment rentals, they must be both. They would allow both, right? So I think our
So-
bylaw would as well.
Yeah, it would. There is no difference between an independent living senior facility and an apartment complex or condo complex.
I don't think
restricted.
it's captured in our definition. Like the definition for this bylaw isn't captured in the definitions of the actual definitions.
No,
That may be true.
it's not part of the definition of this.
The new definition?
There are definitions of senior housing that came from Mark Bobrowski.
So our definitions under this, a senior housing facility, which a 55 plus development is not a facility.
It's in the facility.
Well, our definitions say senior
State
housing
definition, yeah.
in section 2. Senior housing has a number of sub definitions: assisted living facility, continued care, independent living facility, which would be a facility providing apartments for rent with optional services, a long-term care facility, and senior housing, which is housing for persons over the age of 55, subject to senior housing laws as defined herein.
That's-
So I think we do define it in the definitions as a use.
But
Um,
our definition in section 9 is only senior housing facility. It should be more broad to say senior housing.
Okay. That's.
I mean, this is what I brought up last week, which
That's,
everyone said that was captured in RCC, and I'm like, it actually isn't. And this doesn't capture 55 plus.
So if we change senior housing facility, which is simply defined as in our, I think you make a point. It's defined as an assisted living facility, continuing care, independent living facility, or long-term care facility, whether operated as a freestanding or in combination of other types. Where senior housing is more broadly encompassing by our definitions of all of the types.
Strike the word.
Yep.
So the definition say facility, or you're striking that
Now I'm
word?
striking the word facility. I'm gonna pull it up.
So I don't know. So then you get down to like 9.3.5 accessory uses. I don't know. We use senior housing facility a lot in here, so that's why I'm not sure how changing that definition affects the rest. The operator of the senior housing facility. But I don't think there is any operator. If you develop a unit cluster for seniors, that's 55 plus restricted, there's no operator. You could just buy the condo. I mean, that's what was
No,
being
there's
developed.
there's a condo association.
It's not the owner, though, not an
No.
operator. It's a legal
No, it might
document.
be.
It does, the definition doesn't work with this. It's different. The definition of a
Change to
senior
Senior housing,
facility is different than senior housing. The facility doesn't capture the 55 plus definition in our definition. That's the problem.
If we change the definition in our definitions to senior housing facility, then senior housing facility would include all of those things. That would be easier than trying to.
I know,
figure
but
out-
I think that's a legal thing. I think that might be a state definition.
Or we could say,
Senior housing facility for people over 55.
senior housing, what if we said, 9.3, senior housing, so definition, see section 2, senior housing facility.
we can strike facility from
And From
there,
there,
and then you've got all the definitions under senior
Right.
housing.
And I guess then
and we could.
it's-
strike
you
it
can
from
just
the-
leave accessory uses as is, and if it's a facility, they have to apply, right?
Right.
So if I'm just taking out facility
On 9.3.2.
and 3.3.
Just on line 21, the planning board may grant a special permit for
Senior
senior housing.
housing. So get rid of senior housing in 1.
But we don't have any senior housing before the date of the adoption of this.
Yeah, we
section.
do,
The Plans and Newport Park.
plans.
Oh, you wouldn't call that facilities though? I mean, that's a,
Oh, it's not,
Yeah.
I think, let's see, senior housing. All, and then setbacks, all buildings associated with with the senior housing, get rid of facility. I think transportation makes sense, because that is probably with a facility. Just gonna search for facility.
The other places are okay.
Like in 9.3.5, you're leaving it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to figure out. Questions now. Okay, I think that's, anybody have any objections to removing the word facility in the definitions, 9.3.2, in 9.3.3, in two places, and in 9.3.4, number 5. Any objections?
I'm just reading through number 5. I think number 5 really applies more to a facility than if you're building.
Okay,
small,
yeah, because it's, I agree. Because it's
regular
low,
Senior housing. you
yeah,
could
all
just go-
buildings
Yeah.
and collective.
I would not throw
Okay.
it there.
I mean, one of the things about this is we're making these very small units. So we're, that was one of the objections, but we'll see. Okay, so I heard no objections to making those changes. Any other discussions around senior housing? Okay, hearing none. We have one more article to deal with, which is Sue went back and read this issue of applicability for site plan. I mentioned it last time. Site plan review, applicability. Any site development which involves cutting or removal of vegetation shall be permitted only upon site approval from the planning board. That is, she went back and looked at it, and I think we still need some sort of threshold. Otherwise, anybody who cuts anything down shall be permitted only.
Okay, say trees over 6 inches, 6 inches or larger trees
But even
That-
still, if
that
I
is
cut
a-
down a tree on my land, I have to, like, 'cause
for a special permit. Is that what
this
it's?
is all the following activities,
Under what?
site plan review.
So why would you have a site plan review for cutting down a tree, a 6-inch tree?
But this is saying that the,
I thought that was
the
the-
following activities shall require site plan approval.
No, it's not,
Is it-
I don't think that's the trigger.
no, I thought it was a trigger within special permit review, not to get to special permit review.
So can we just
So
maybe
it-
reference the tree policy of town?
That only
But
applies
that's
to
all
trees
tree
in
on
the,
site.
on
No,
town land.
I don't think it does. That's actually,
No, it's only set for town, like.
Yeah. Within a certain setback from the
By the
center line,
C Street
So
code.
she says it's 7.
right?
So if this is in our current bylaw, then. Current one.
She had a
that's
suggestion?
Hard to tell, no. So I wonder if it should be, oh, it's an and. Not or,
yeah, I don't think. it's-
okay, it might be solved because it's an and. Any new development and any site development.
You don't need any site development.
Yeah. The following activities are required. Doesn't really make sense.
What section is that in?
Where are you?
Right here,
6.3.7,
no, 12.6.2.
12.6.2.
Trying to figure out what the trigger is now.
Any site development.
Where's, is that in one of the articles?
Yes, article for section 12. I raised it last time
I
and
know,
kind of got, we were tired and couldn't
Yeah.
deal with it. But I don't have it. Section 12. No wonder kind of retired.
Oh, okay, and then,
Oh, you know what? It's a Grabowski thing.
I'm sorry, which line in 12?
Chris has one.
168.
168.
Oh, so
I feel like we took that right from Bobrowski, so I'm trying to find his draft date. All right. So what am I searching for? Site vegetation. Do you remember what section his site plan review purpose? Okay, applicability. It's straight from Mark Bobrowski. Can we just make it just say any new development, expansion, or change of use with site development? Or any site?
Need some sort of a threshold, like area or, you know, land clearing.
I mean, we could make the determination whether it's extensive or.
But I think the argument is, are we gonna send someone in here to take down one tree?
Right.
Right,
We don't
and
wanna
you
do that.
want
That will
something-
lose- everybody will be upset.
Yeah. And a tree ordinance would be done under.
So
Maybe a tree ordinance would be.
So is it,
Private property
is somebody
would be
doing, presenting a site development plan which triggers all these things? Is that what happens?
So it's under site plan review. It says the purpose is to review to ensure the design layout of certain developments permitted in matter of right by special permit. Site plan review is intended to promote a suitable development that will not result in detrimental neighborhood. Like, I don't know.
This is the threshold for getting a site plan review other places in the. Like in the
In the section 6.
section 6, right? That tells you when you get to site plan review.
So why are we concerned
Yeah,
about
what,
that?
this is in his administration.
Right.
Well, because if it was clear there, then maybe we could,
Dr.
maybe we could-
like, that
Rainwater,
should make it clear here.
that runoff, why are we,
Well, why do we care? Yeah, because we run off and.
Yeah, we care for resiliency, runoff, stormwater capture, tree canopy coverage. Things that impact heat and flooding and water quality.
so maybe we can make it a percentage of trees or a percentage of vegetation?
You know, we've got a preservation of existing vegetation.
That's what
Clause.
standard, it doesn't say applicability.
Right, I know, I'm just trying to figure out if we can work backwards from what it is.
Maybe we can, it is late, maybe we should, if this is the one issue that's remaining on our bylaws, and I don't think we have a section, a sense
Maybe
of.
for
what
now,
to
can
do.
we just say at the planning board's discretion?
Why don't we just leave it and then figure it out later? I feel
Yeah,
like.
I'm gonna keep it on the
Huh?
list. to
You could leave it, figure it out later too.
Okay.
No, I mean, we're
So
gonna have
we
to go back and get an opinion and like,
Yeah, I agree with you, yeah.
Yeah, we
put it
gotta,
on the list.
okay. Great, thank you, keep it on the list.
Okay,
So therein concludes our zoning discussion for tonight. So the next topic is the warrant. I just handed out, oh, that's Marion. So I asked here, we added 2 new articles tonight. Okay. And the rest of the warrant, I believe, should be exactly as it was before.
No, except no.
Except.
Because Article 1 was about authorizing.
No, we have to remember that, we have to renumber them.
Yeah, okay.
They have to, but with
When that goes away.
the renumbering them, but the language of them is, I
Language is
believe,
fine.
the same.
Yes.
So,
The one thing before this one,
what?
did we vote? We finished talking about something and I'm
Yeah,
not sure. if
we did.
voted. We did, yeah.
Okay. We had a concurrence. Okay. So this comment, it starts with the Commonwealth and that's. this one.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we're gonna renumber them, but I've talked to Greg and I've talked to Alan about having this be on the town's website.
I'm missing a couple pages.
Pardon me?
I think I'm missing a few pages.
No, it only has two.
Two single-sided, is that right?
We go from Article 3 to Article 9.
Yeah, wait a minute. We are
Oh.
missing something.
Sorry. I got it printed out from. Okay, I will send this out and I think there's nothing to do but just vote it. But we should read it to make sure there is nothing to do, but just, and I'll add the other two. Okay, we'll take
Yeah,
that.
have
up
the
next
other
time.
two, take out Article 1 and
No.
number them.
No, I don't think it is. I got it from Gary. Okay, let's do that. So the other, next two things, the next thing we need, the really,
Do we want to do what we just said to the select board?
yeah, we can send, we will send a packet to them. That's fine. We should put the latest up on the web and all that. Latest. To town council. And web and. Yeah. Okay, great. And, so we met last night, three of us. And we talked about cricket articles and the, zoning table and the workshop. The workshop is a week and a day away from tonight, so we probably should talk about that first. What we propose is that we take, these are the slides from town meeting that we were gonna put forward for town meeting. And our proposal is that we would have stations, that it's a drop-in format where people can come and have a long conversation about ADUs or a short conversation about the use table. So I'm gonna stand up. The idea is that we would have, the first thing we would have is an intro to the planning board with bios. Like this, each person who's comfortable doing it, we don't wanna. Would have, there'd be 7 of these. Can't stand how you can't, without 2 screens. So here's.
Can you share?
Yeah, I'm trying. So here's bronze. You could put whatever you wanted. So here's another one. That is me. I took Laura's picture off LinkedIn and Chris's picture off LinkedIn. So my thought was, if people don't know who we are, not everybody knows who we are. And it's sort of nice to say what your experience is, maybe what your interests are, or whatever you want. So if people are willing to do that, I thought it'd be, and we could just print them out and put them at the entrance. So the second thing is to have it be a, our thought was to have it be a, where am I? A drop-in format, maybe a quick welcome to the planning board's open house. We've been working on the zoning for a long time. Please. That we have planning board members stationed throughout the room to answer your questions on topics. We also have some posters to help you guide you, and we could have the QR code for people who want to, hand out so people can easily find them on the line, and as well as some paper copies for people for whom that's easier. It's a lot of paper, but we should have some copies for people. And also we should have one full zone, existing zoning and one full general bylaws book, so people want to know when dogs are on the beach, they can go to the general bylaws and look that up. So it's sort of, it's kind of an opportunity to educate people about bylaws. Maybe the selectmen would want to be there too to answer questions.
I think a QR code for each one of those. So if they like something they see, a link, a QR to take them right to the
To the existing,
website if they
Hmm.
don't have to take the paper with them.
yeah. I think we'll give them a handout when they come in with the QR code, so everybody gets that, they can all go home with that.
No, not to the recodification, to like the
Zoning.
actual book.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Like if you have a book here, put a QR code to get there. And if you have.
Right,
a
well, or we could actually have the websites of where you find the zoning bylaws, where do you find the general bylaws, where do you find our proposed changes? Good suggestion.
Easy enough to the QR codes.
I think it's a lot easier with the QR code, especially for some older people.
We can do both, and
I think if you had a
So you
phone
can Scan it on their phone.
and you would pop right up and you can save it right away. I mean, a website, you're gonna have to, I don't know how you're gonna get to the, you're gonna write down the email link. I mean, that's.
well, Tiffany made a short thing for zoning, it's like bit.ly at something or other. We can, yeah, but something, I agree that a zoning and general bylaws is a good thing. And then I suggested, I just took the tables that we did for the public hearing and had them printed out, so you can kind of, and then we group them by, in here, this is, Ron is gonna try to print the zoning map in a large format. So, where do I live and what's my district? And the table, this is just an excerpt. The idea is the big table in a big one page, so that's kind of nice. Oh, where do I live and what can I do? That's, and then here are the four sections of Article 1 with a little bit on sprinkles. So that would be on posters, like we probably try to put them 4 and have some easels. The other section would be housing changes. And this would be the residential conservation cluster, the senior housing and the ADUs in a grouping. And then non-conforming use in a grouping, and then the general bylaws in a grouping, maybe with non-conforming use, I'm not sure. And the administrative stuff and the general regulation stuff together. And then we would station ourselves, and we can kind of rotate, I think, through to, some people have more expertise. Laura's thought a lot about general regulations. Chris is now the proclaimed expert on non-conforming uses. We can all take,
We get Sarah Miller there too.
yeah.
So
And
Table, is there a way to maybe add in, maybe in a different color? If these all pass, what it would look like? I feel like giving them it as is without the yeses in certain districts. So maybe a little.
the big use table. Use table does not change in the bylaw. The only place it changes is with the senior housing, but yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So we could,
And like swimming pools, I think, right? There's a couple of places where it flips
Yeah.
from.
We do
Fire.
swimming pool.
we have included swimming pools in Article 1. So that's already in there. But you're right, the senior housing, the first part of senior housing motion is to modify the use table.
I feel like maybe putting a
So
a
that's,
different color on the
Yeah,
table.
could be
Okay.
possible, yeah.
so maybe it could be just as simple as a call out, little
Oh, yeah.
orange thing that says if,
Highlight.
or, yeah.
It's
like-
yellow. I think the yellow is new and it's not.
But the use table in Article 1 does not have senior housing in it. The senior housing motion is, the first part of it is to amend the use table. Because all of the, I tried to create them.
If you assume the use table was, after all these things get approved, here's what it looks like, and then the yellow ones are the.
No, I think
no?
it's just too, we have,
True, we have no use table, we have no use table, but the
Right.
things the content that's flipping, if it was.
yeah, I think I can see how to do it. You take the big use table and you just say, if article, whatever number this is, 10 passes. These article numbers are wrong too, because they're from the town meeting. I was just,
Will ADUs go in the use table?
think they would. right?
No, they're already, this is,
Already in
they're already in there.
In there.
They're in, we have an existing section 9.1 that's in the use table. And all we're doing is modifying 9.1.
It's all special permits, I guess you could say.
So you,
Well,
I'm, you know, what I'm gonna do for next meeting is I'm gonna print out for everybody a new set of all of the changes, all of the
That's a
zoning.
good idea.
So everybody has them with the right date on them. Hard copy for everybody. And the other piece of this, which don't be grandstanding, is to make sure that because we're voting the motions, we're amending, we're doing two things. One is the articles, and then the motions, and the motions are to, in the senior housing, is to amend the use table. So it's important that,
That's the only one.
I believe so, but I'll have to go back and
So I
double
guess
check
then
that.
maybe go further when it's special permit to buy right, I think is important then.
Yeah, you could just highlight that. That was
So-
already in the use table, but the special permit to buy right part is changing. You could highlight that cell.
The only. So,
I feel like it's disingenuous if you give them a map and you give them your table and you're not giving them the whole picture of what's gonna change in there.
but section 4, the use table doesn't change any of the existing uses.
Yeah,
That was the whole point, except for the swimming
except
pool thing.
pools and senior housing.
But senior housing isn't in
No, it's not
Article
in the
1.
existing, that's right. That's-
We pass Article 1, which is the use table. And then if there are only 2 articles on the warrant, that and senior housing, the next thing is to modify the new use table to add senior housing. So
Then wouldn't you have a use table today and a use table as,
I think that
Modify
we just create a little insert
Yeah.
and say, if article senior housing number passes, this would be an additional use.
yeah,
I think we can pretty clearly make that the case.
But I
Maybe
feel like the
combined with-
ADU, you went from twice to not enough, and you're not highlighting that, like. I
But the
feel-
use table
Doesn't show
says,
the use table though, right?
the use table says accessory dwelling units, subject to section 9.1.
I just don't feel like if we're trying to give people a big picture, they're gonna walk out and say, wait a minute, you don't need this anymore, and I feel like there's a lot that's changed there that we're not giving them in a quick and easy
But
way.
what? A use table says accessory dwelling units are subject to section 9.1. And we're changing 9.1, that's what we're doing. So the use table is not. The whole point of the use table was to make sure that it just changes the way we present the material.
So I think the first way we said it is that nothing's really changed here. We took this and we put it into a table, and
That's
I
right.
think that's disingenuous with
But
ADUs.
It's not disingenuous at all. It's
Yeah.
exactly what we did.
Well, I think,
But then we're adding, then it's clear in here that you're adding things to the use table.
But
I
we're
think
talking about only senior housing, so I'm saying there's somewhere that we need to capture on the
actually,
use
I think
table.
That could
Could
be
be on
a
the senior
table
housing
about,
thing.
a summary about the regulation. I think the use table is just a kind of, it's just a
Just a-
toggle, right? It's like yes,
toggle.
no. It doesn't get into the nuances of size or, inside the house or not. The things that you're talking about, I think the use table is just not adapted to telling that story because it's like yes or no. And it was already there before as a yes, but we've changed the,
So, but I think we've drastically changed the yes, so I just feel like we need to like highlight that on the use table somehow.
senior housing, I agree. I don't think the other is, I don't agree with you on the other one, but I have to look at the motion.
My neighbor on every side of me did not have more than double their lot. I never really needed to worry about an ADU there. Now we're saying that, and we're saying we're not changing the zoning, it's just housekeeping. I feel like that to me is a little
I
disingenuous.
don't think we're saying it's housekeeping.
Okay, but we're no longer talking here about the motions. We're talking about the workshop.
I know, I'm just saying, I feel like there needs to be a better way for people to get that part of the information out. Anything that's changed to,
when you all
Right,
did
right.
this tape, this draft, whatever we're calling this table, aren't there things that we pulled out from sort of like, it's like FAQs for each one of these regulations, things you want people to know, since they're not gonna slog through, like, what are the 5 things you want people to know about the ADU and how it's changed? The use, maybe the use table, that's just like part of the story, yes, no. But then we have a sheet for each one of these, perhaps, that says FAQs about ADUs, senior housing, what? And it could be like a before or after, it could be five
So we
things you
have-
need to know.
1 week.
Yeah, no, I know.
We have Sue's sick.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
so we have to take what we've got, and I think the way to do it is to have conversations with people
Yeah.
about this and to be, clear. I mean, Christine is right that we are proposing to reduce from a double lot. That's one of the proposals, so, but that is not in the, that's not a use table issue, that is a 9.1.
But I think you've done a lot of that hard work here already.
Right,
and
so the
summarized it
second
nicely.
piece of this, so can I just finish the format for this thing? Which is to have these things, to have some coffee and some cookies. And to have it as a drop-in format. So the idea is that people who only have 15 minutes can come for 15 minutes. We've done this before with the master plan and with the high school. And people who can come at 8:15 can come at 8:15. It makes it more accessible to people. The other thing is that these boards could be put up in town hall. Or we could, if it's successful, there's no reason we couldn't do this a second time. So, and I think we also have a handout, which we proposed in our discussion last night. This table that we've heard we haven't received any edits to that, and so we recommend that we move forward with that.
Do we need to make a few changes based on tonight on this? Or is this-
I don't
I don't think so.
So you're envisioning people walk in and they, like, it opens at 7 and people are there and they just walk in at 7. There's no like intro, like,
I think
hi.
we do an intro
Like a-
every half hour, or we greet people, you know,
I was just thinking, at least when we start, we should probably give a 5-minute something.
yeah, I think I
Okay.
said sort of an intro.
Okay.
I think that could be repeated every half hour, you know, ding, 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 just want to welcome you, here's the format. I was even thinking if we could get a high school kid to sort of greet people, that might be kind of nice, but again, it's, you know, it's,
Great, I just want to change it 1 second.
Yeah.
Has this been put on our website?
not yet, because we have to vote it
Can we
tonight.
vote this? to
Yes.
the-
That's the next
Move
thing.
it forward and get it to the select board also?
Yeah. Yep, that's on my next on my agenda. So that's the proposal for the format. I am willing to work on Monday, the Columbus Day, if anybody else is available to, you know, and we have to should post a working session to just put these up, to check through the wording. And finalize them. I can also put it up on SharePoint and people can edit. Or send any edits, I guess, proposed edits for the workshop. And so
Tuesday or Wednesday?
the workshop is Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Tuesday, we have 3 special permits, and I'm in UMass Dartmouth all day, so. So I'm gonna propose that I'm willing, and I'm away on weekend. So I'm willing to work with anybody who wants to at any time on Monday. We would post, so I'm
I think
wondering
we have
what,
to post it. We're not doing,
I think
and can you post on a holiday?
I think so.
you can, I asked the Attorney General's office and she said we could post on weekends and the holidays for a
Okay,
working
well,
group.
then might as well post. Like it hurt.
I did ask Gail to post the open house so that it makes it onto the town calendar. Otherwise, it's not on the town calendar. And so she posted, I had her post it with just saying no Zoom format and
This Monday session, you want to have it here in town hall or at the site?
I think it can be, I think if we can get in here and just work,
Which you wanted to
yeah,
set these up on
easels and stuff to just
Here.
get it. Well, just get them on the
Sure,
poster
fine.
boards
Sure,
and
it's like-
So are we confirmed somewhere?
yes, the high
Yeah.
school cafeteria. So that's the proposal for the open house, calling it an open house rather than a workshop because. And
The cards went out, right?
the cards, their mailing has gone out or it drops tomorrow, I think. Or it goes,
And there's a QR code on that.
yes,
Yes, it is. Okay, sounds good.
does
to
that
me.
sound okay?
What time do you want us there on the 12th?
It starts at 7.
I know,
Should
but
be there
what time
at
do you want us there to, because
6. 6:15,
I can't do
6:30?
Monday, but I mean, I could, you
Yeah,
know, I don't know,
6:15,
just meeting there
6:30.
earlier and doing a
Yeah.
drive.
Yeah, I think so. 6, I think we have the room at 6. Do you have any easels?
Do not.
I'll ask Sue to ask some people.
I'll see what I can
Yeah, see
find
if
at
you have
my
any.
work.
Someone here, right?
When I
I
print
saw
out
one.
this table, I mean, we're gonna highlight things on it with a yellow marker. I'm not gonna
No, just
print
print
it out
it,
and just print it in
print,
black and
just
white.
print it in black and white. And I think we would put, I'm thinking we would get a few sort of arrows. So if senior housing passes, you know, it would be like a insert, maybe a piece of red or something that says, if senior housing passes, the following would be modified. And we'll look at the ADU one to make sure that we're correct on that issue.
And I get the native file.
Yeah,
of it.
yeah. You have
And
you have to type it in.
I just hope it all fits on one sheet. I'll see how big I can do it, but
And the map.
yeah, and I'll
Yeah.
get that native file. if I
Yeah,
can
I don't have
find it.
that, so who has that?
I don't know how big it is, but I hope it can be emailed.
It's on a website.
It's on, yeah, it's on the town website.
If,
Yeah.
if we can't do that, I thought we could have a computer with just a larger screen so people can zoom in on it. But I think it'd be better to have a print.
Can it be downloaded?
I don't know, we'll,
'Cause the
We'll
file-
figure that
I'll
out
need-
tomorrow.
I'll need the-
How many easels do you need?
to 1, 2, 8 or 10? How many? Do you have any?
I
have a
was pretty
couple.
close with the principal over there. I could see if they just have them in a closet.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, that'd
Yeah.
be great.
That'd be great.
They can just leave them in the
Yeah,
cafeteria.
that's because
So
the
9.
school must have.
Yeah,
equals,
that's right, yeah.
Right, that was my first thought. And then if not, we could ask, I was thinking we could ask some of us. Probably have some for. Okay, so-
Did you need to decide on the type of cookies?
do you have a special, I want the chocolate chip.
Chocolate chip from,
Chocolate chip cookies. So I'll talk to Sue, hopefully she can pick up the cookies and stuff.
We'll see.
Or we can pick them up on Monday. So is anybody able to help me on Monday? Okay, anybody else? What time is good?
Say 10. How about that?
Okay, 10.
Oh, it's a holiday.
Holiday, yeah. We'll sleep in.
We don't have it all.
Okay,
You don't?
any other comments on the open house? I do want to talk about the table, which we propose as a handout. So our little subgroup looked at the table again last night and make a recommendation that we move it forward to as a handout and to put up on the web as a new material.
This, the direct table?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dated September 25th.
Got a couple of typos.
Okay, so sending typos.
Do you want that?
Yes, please.
Verbally or?
No, on paper. Okay, you better. Chris is gonna enter them in.
Okay.
I got a long
Yeah,
list.
that's
Uh-huh.
good.
Okay. But any typos, but substantively, I'll take a motion to approve the table.
I'll move.
I'll second, subject to typo
Typos,
changes.
right.
Yeah. Recommended.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, 5-0 on that one.
And I recommend this get to the select board.
Yep.
We're looking for something simple.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last thing that we talked about. Yes, we have communications, different articles. Hearing. Oh,
I didn't see a third. Is there one?
what?
Third article?
I don't see it.
No, we haven't got a third article yet. Our proposal from last night was several articles. Let's see if I have it.
Maybe it was the flyer that I received in the mail yesterday. Who wrote that?
What flyer?
From like the Board of Selectmen, the trifold,
Oh, they wrote it, I guess.
about ours?
It just said that there was a November 14th town meeting
Oh, sir.
Thank you very much.
I guess I'm concerned about an article, and now I can't put my finger on it, but it basically said that we didn't change the uses in any districts. And I feel like the senior housing bylaw, we absolutely did, and I feel like that is disingenuous. Because we are allowing a commercial use in any zone. So I think we need to. Correct that.
So here's the proposed articles, I think. These are the minutes from last night. I
Mhm.
did do a reminder of the event this week. I just went ahead and did it. So we talked about three different ones: property owner rights and neighbor input. The three housing related that are on the warrant, and then one about non-conforming uses were the topics that we thought about having articles about. And I said, there were a few changes to that you had proposed, Chris had proposed a draft.
I did. I made a few changes in the names,
You sent it to me.
but I give it them, I sent it to myself too.
Um,
Would anyone like me to read it to them? Or,
well, yes, because the next cricket article probably wants to come out on next Tuesday.
well, we'll be meeting before next Tuesday.
No, we're meeting next Tuesday because of the
Well,
holiday.
no.
Did you send it to me?
And we post it on the submission and then just.
Yeah, we got it live. Did you send it to me?
I did.
Can't you share it to our SharePoint now? Yeah, you can share it to our SharePoint now and put it up on the screen.
Yeah.
I sent it at 1:23, yeah, 1:33 PM.
Okay. Just give me one second. Yeah, I have it. Uh, Okay, I'm gonna put it in communications. Right, TV, is that it? So,
Yes.
okay. Yeah. So we looked at this last night. Trying to make this bigger. How do I do that?
There you go.
Okay.
Let's scroll a little bit.
You know, we're still here, we're just reading.
I dozed off.
I think it's really long. I'm already kind of like lost. I'm like lost interest. I'm sorry. And I feel like the appeal process is lost in the paragraph. I feel like if we're being factual, by right, you lose your appeal process. So I think it's very biased. I think there's a lot of emotion in it. I'm still reading.
What's the takeaway message we're trying to
Yeah.
send, that zoning is
Not perfect.
not perfect? And
We
we're
already
gonna
knew that.
to improve it. Yeah, I'm trying to, so the first article was, I mean, is this part of a sequence of a story we're trying to tell?
Kind of is, yes, yeah.
Yeah, and so the cricket article number 1, which I had printed out, was kind of why we're doing this, right?
Yeah.
And then is this number 2 or number 3?
Right.
So what was number 2?
2 is about the master plan,
2 is about the master plan.
about the larger context,
So
so.
3 is why should you care, or what's, or,
So this is about people saying that no one should be allowed to do anything by right, that all development should be subject to special permit review. And I think we're trying to point out is that there are a lot of things you can do by right now. And that this is a tricky balance between what you as a property owner should have the right to do versus what neighbors should feel that should protect their interest. And that's what zoning does, and it's not perfect.
Maybe it needs some headings that's that has if we to kind of shorten it up, we could use some headings that said what is
Could make
by
it shorter,
right.
Yeah, could be shorter.
But I don't think we explain, I mean, for me, this article should be, we're changing some things to special permit, we're changing some things to by right. And we don't really get into like what those mean. And what, the pros and cons are, like, I mean, literally, I mean, by right, you are taking away notification, you are taking away the appeal period, the process, so why are we not saying that? Are we,
Well, because we're not adding anything by right, really, except these 20 ADUs per year.
But
But other than
how
that, we're
can you
not,
say it in the same sentence, we're not really adding anything except for 20 ADUs, we are adding 20.
that's, well, we could put that exception in there if that makes you feel better, but I don't think that's what that's not the big driving force of this zoning codification.
Well, I think people would be interested, and if we're writing articles that inform the
Well,
people,
there'll be another article on ADU, yes. that's for sure.
Is there another article coming or is this the
Yeah,
last
so
one?
the proposal was to do 3.
Okay,
This one was the first proposal. I mean,
yeah.
I'm grateful that Chris is
Oh, I
writing
do, yeah,
these.
it's a ton of
That,
work, yeah.
so in the absence of, Mary had offered to write them, and the other one is non-conforming use and a summary of these, housing issues, what a residential cluster is, what the ADU is, and what senior housing proposals are.
Okay, I'm sorry, behind on the cricket reading. So which ones have we done those already?
Yeah.
Okay, and are we still proposing to do those
Yes.
before?
Yeah, we got a.
So this one is just about
This should be about special permit and by right.
special permit and by right.
What are the differences?
Well, so I would change that heading of the article, because I think that that's a little bit of a,
Right.
that right there is a little bit of a thing that can get emotional. State by, neighbors' rights versus property rights. I think it's explaining special permit versus as a right or by right. And I think that as a right or by right actually is a legal definition. I don't know, I'm not sure. I mean, at least it's a regulatory definition, right? And
I don't think it is, but I don't know.
well, there's certainly precedent for zoning regulations. Not just Manchester's, but any zoning regulation for as a right and what that means. Maybe it's not important whether you want to call it legal or not, but there's a zoning definition of as a right and a zoning definition of special permit. And if you can maybe pull out the part that say there are lots of things that you can already do and will continue to do by right, without asking for special permission. But you still, even with your by right, you still need to get a building permit for things that that govern health and safety. And it's actually not just health and safety of the occupants of the building, but health and safety for the general public.
Okay.
Fire codes and things like that. And then special permits, and why do we do them? And I guess that's because of the impact on town character, whatever else it might be, neighbors and town character. So, I mean, I think you've got a lot of it in there, Chris, but maybe making it shorter.
Wonder if this is the,
And pulling out a few examples from the zoning of, here's where you're gonna see some changes, the ADUs.
That's gonna make it really long when we start doing
yeah,
that.
we can do that.
Yeah,
I just think concentrate on the definitions.
yeah. And then this is sort of a sidebar, but the zoning, the fact that the town was built before zoning. And we came up with a beautiful, lovely village. That's not allowed by zoning, actually. We can't build our historic village by
That's right.
zoning.
That's my whole point, yeah.
So, but I think I think
I didn't get that out of that.
we
sorry.
don't get that message yet, was that actually zoning sometimes doesn't let you do the thing that you think you want to do. It's always a blunt instrument, right? So,
Yes, that's not the right.
I have a
That's not the right way
definition,
to-
I'm just gonna stick it at the end,
but,
we can do that, or I can just comment.
okay.
So if we're advocating shortening it,
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're not gonna be voting it tonight, I guess,
okay.
unless we go through it and shorten it for the next half hour.
Yeah.
But
It's
I
gonna
could
be- I think we're
offer an
just-
alternate solution
Okay,
for the cricket. What about this graph table?
She'll never print it, that's even bigger.
But maybe we should get this message out somehow.
She might put like a,
Some of
Yeah.
it.
I actually think it's great timing. She might put like a whole centerfold on it or something.
About the article.
A
from the
pull-up
next-
to take to town meeting.
Good idea.
She
Right,
maybe like
and-
advertising for her, bring it to town meeting.
And get rid of the clicks, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Just maybe the meat of this.
Or maybe we can run it in a couple. You know.
I like it
couple
all in
installments.
once. I think people could bring it to town meeting.
Insert from the cricket.
That's what I mean. I think she might like go for it. Advertising.
Oh, that's good. That's a good idea. All right, let's, can I ask? It's virtually impossible to have meeting if Greg told me that we can authorize two people to come up with another draft. But that's okay,
Of the table?
of the cricket article.
Oh, good. Sure.
So,
And then put it up on the SharePoint for
Yeah.
comments? I don't have a problem with it. Anyone else?
I know Mary wanted to look at it too.
I think this is very emotion driven, so I just keep more happy with facts. I don't know why we need to put our opinions in it. It's my 2 cents.
So you're against even
This topic or
this
just,
No.
article at all?
But I guess I'm against 2 people saying that it's from the planning board. I mean, I'm not sure what.
No,
no, it has to be, it has to get in the next draft, two people, and then.
And then we
To shorten up
distribute it
and-
for us for
Yeah.
comments.
people are okay with that.
Two people.
That's fine, yeah, I'm
All
okay
right,
with that.
so I'll work with Chris. On that, okay. If that's okay. All right,
Thank you, Chris.
thank you, Chris,
Thank you
for
both.
writing.
I know, we all have lots of
8
comments.
hours.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think that's it. So I'll take a motion to continue the public hearing to October 11th, which I think we have very little to do except vote the warrant.
Did you want to do meeting minutes tonight?
Were there any?
9:20.
I mean, it was 2 lines. Last time was.
Oh, no, I thought there was something much longer.
Do we need to vote those?
Oh, that's all the motions. I've looked through them.
September
Yeah,
20th
yeah,
minutes of the planning
Yeah.
board with all the motions.
Yeah.
So we need to vote them.
we do need to vote them, but we don't have to vote them tonight, but
Okay.
they've got to be voted at some point.
I read them.
Okay,
Did
anybody else? I've read them.
Well, Mary then.
We have the two,
What?
we have the 2 extra ones, or we just, I guess this is just.
This was all that I saw on the
Yeah.
agenda for tonight that we were
Right.
approving for meeting minutes. And so that was why I read it.
So before we take minutes, while you think about whether you want to do the minutes, I'll take a motion to continue the public hearing to October 11th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
Okay, thank you. I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of September
September
20th.
20th.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? You standing or?
No.
Oh, 5-0. Okay,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
We're getting there.
All right, so what's going on, Gary?